Chapter 303. Ever since Lianggu had been embraced by Rui, she had been absent-minded for a long time. The next time she saw Rui was at senior sister and senior brother Shi Yin's wedding. Their wedding was very special. They stood in the middle of a strange formation amidst a sea of roses. The process was long and complicated. Lianggu was a bit dazed. She didn't even realize someone was standing next to her. This is a blood pact among vampires. Only two deeply in love can form a blood pact to live and die together. Lianggu was startled awake by the voice. She subconsciously turned her head, only to see a perfect profile. "It's you." Rui glanced at her. "You seem to know me?" From the first time they met, the light in her eyes had conveyed this message. Lianggu lowered her head. She didn't know how to answer. Just as Lianggu was about to answer, someone called out to him from afar. Rui disappeared in the blink of an eye. As the elder brother, he was required to read a blessing to Shisheng and Shi Yin before the ceremony was over. Lianggu watched as he solemnly read the awkward-sounding blessing, then solemnly handed the Shisheng to Shi Yin. She hadn't seen Rui again after the wedding. Sometimes Lianggu wondered if the person she had met was really just a dream, and Rui just happened to overlap with him. But that dream was too real. She remembered every detail. That year she was 10 years old. Because her parents were busy with business, she went to and from school alone. That day, she got into an argument with a classmate. The other party was very popular at school, and because she didn't talk much, she wasn't very popular. Everyone sided with the other party. In the end, her textbook was torn apart and her clothes were dirty. When she got home, she found that the housekeeper wasn't there. She didn't have her keys, so she was locked out. She wanted to go to the company to find her parents, but halfway there, it began to rain heavily. She didn't know why, but she felt so wronged. She squatted on the ground and began to cry. "Why are you crying?" she heard someone say. The rain had been cut off at some point, forming a curtain around her. She raised her head slightly. Through her hazy vision, she saw an extremely good-looking boy standing next to her, holding an umbrella. "Why are you crying?" the boy asked again. Perhaps it was because she felt so wronged, but Liangji's tears, which were about to stop, began to fall again. "They tore my textbook." The 10-year-old Lianggu was so fair and tender that water could be squeezed out of her cheeks. Anyone who saw her crying so pitifully would feel sorry for her. The boy suddenly squatted down. He clearly had a very clean face, but there was a trace of an evil smile on his lips. "Do you want to bully me back?" "Can I?" Lianggu stared blankly at the boy in front of her. The reason for the argument wasn't Liangji's fault. She felt wronged, so when she heard that she could be bullied, she immediately forgot to cry. "Of course, but you have to give me something in exchange." The boy nodded. I have." Lianggu pulled her dirty backpack in front of her and began rummaging through it. She handed over all the girl's trinkets to the boy, but the boy smiled and shook his head. "No way." "Then what do you want?" Lianggu grew vigilant. She looked around her. She didn't know when, but she and the boy were the only ones left, and the heavy rain that couldn't be stopped. "Your blood." The boy's eyes seemed to contain starlight, so dazzling that she couldn't look away. "One mouthful is enough." "Blood." Lianggu glanced at her arm. "But it hurts." "It won't hurt." The boy suddenly leaned in close to Lianggu. "I know magic, so it won't hurt at all. Give me a mouthful of blood, and I'll help you teach those people who bullied you a lesson. It's a fair deal." Lianggu bit her lip. After thinking for a long time, she unexpectedly nodded her head. Lianggu thought that the boy was probably too good-looking, which was why she hadn't been on guard. The boy leaned in closer, and she felt something cold and sharp pressed against her neck. She didn't even have time to be afraid before the pain numbed her nerves. She clearly heard the sound of someone swallowing. More than one mouthful, but that was quickly replaced by excitement. When the boy released her, she touched her neck. There was no wound. Her eyes shone as she looked at the boy. "You're a vampire, aren't you? Vampires really exist." The boy was at a loss at Liangji's reaction. At the time, he was probably wondering if the child had been scared silly. Thinking back to the boy's expression at the time, Lianggu found it funny. Later, the boy really did help her teach the people who bullied her a lesson. She was drenched in the rain and lost blood. When she returned home, she had a high fever. When she woke up, her memories were a bit hazy. She asked her parents if they'd seen a very good-looking older brother. She even told them that the older brother was a vampire. But her parents thought she was confused by her illness. They told her that there were no vampires in this world, and that it was all a dream. Her parents felt very guilty because of this. From then on, no matter how busy her parents were, they would always spare someone to take care of her. Lianga couldn't believe it was a dream, but she really never saw that boy again. It really seemed like a dream. In her dream, she met her favorite vampire. "You've been acting a bit strange lately. Do you want to talk to me?" Lianga turned to look at the person walking towards her. She jumped out of the window and called out in a small voice, "Senior." "Is it related to Rui-e?" Lianga nodded hesitantly. She'd kept this matter in her heart for too long. When Shisheng asked her, Lianga quickly told him. When she finished, Shisheng smiled and patted her head. "Then you might be mistaken. Rui-e has never left the vampires. He's the eldest son, so he can't leave the vampires." A trace of disappointment flashed through Liang Ji's eyes. So she was mistaken after all? But Rui-e had a younger brother called Rui Shui. "I don't know if it was him you met, but he's already dead." Rui Shui, that's right, that boy had told her. He'd said. His name was Rui Shui. Rui as in Rui Shui, Shui as in Rui Shui. Why is he dead? Such a good-looking boy. How could he be dead? Shisheng shook his head. "I don't know. Godfather didn't tell me, and Rui-e never mentioned it either. Don't ever mention this in front of Rui-e, got it?" Lianga nodded blankly. "You have to look forward to everything. Rui-e is pretty good." Lianga blushed. "Senior, what did you say?" "It's nothing." Shisheng smiled and left. Shisheng actually knew the cause of Rui Shui's death. The year Rui Shui left the vampires, he'd just reached adulthood. He'd snuck out, and by the time Kaer and Rui-e found him, he was already dead. He'd died at the hands of vampire hunters. No one knew what had happened in between. But it was best not to tell her about it. * pleading for votes. Chapter 304. Take care, Your Highness Rui-e. The maid escorted Rui-e out of the study. He looked up and saw the girl standing in the distance. She was wearing a white shirt and a denim skirt, her hair casually draped over her shoulders. Sunlight poured in from outside and fell on her body. She was probably a little unhappy, for she shrank back into the shadows behind her. When she looked up, she happened to meet his gaze. "Your Highness Rui-e." Lianga was startled by Rui-e's gaze and lowered her head in greeting. Rui-e frowned, but didn't say anything as he strode away. In front of the Shisheng, Rui-e could be shameless and disregard his image. But outside, he would always act like a rich young master. After Rui-e left, Lianga let out a sigh of relief. He and Rui Shui looked too much alike. But before she could finish, a faint voice came from behind her. "Are you afraid of me?" Lianga was so startled that she fell into the sunlight, her entire body enveloped in it. She hung her head. "Your Highness Rui-e," she wasn't afraid of him, but she couldn't believe that the boy who looked so similar to him had died just like that. "Come with me." "Huh?" Lianga looked up at the room Rui-e had just come out of. Why did she want to go with him? "The little princess left you to me. From now on you'll follow me." Rui-e was clearly impatient when he said this. "Come with me." Liang Ji's face fell. Was senior sister trying to get rid of her? "Hurry up." Rui-e had already reached the spiral staircase. He held the handle and looked at her expressionlessly. Lianga looked away and followed him somewhat reluctantly. Rui-e's place wasn't far from the Shisheng. There wasn't a single person inside, and it was cold and cheerless. Rui-e took off his jacket and tossed it onto the sofa. He turned around and saw Lianga still standing at the door. His brows furrowed, and he went upstairs without a word. When he came down, he was carrying several sets of clothes. "From now on, I have the final say in what you wear, understand?" Lianga. Wasn't it her freedom to wear what she wanted? Lianga looked at Rui-e's unpleasant expression and silently swallowed her words. In the end, Rui discovered that Lianggu had run off that night. At first he didn't care. After all, he was only fulfilling the little princess's instructions. She couldn't blame him for running away. Lianggu ran back to the Shisheng's side and complained. Senior sister, why did you make me follow His Highness Rui? You're his first. It's normal for you to follow him. Shisheng looked innocent. But Lianggu looked conflicted. Shisheng glanced at Xiyin, whose expression wasn't too good. He stood up and patted her shoulder. Young lady, you'll disturb my time with Xiyin if you stay here. Lianggu immediately looked over at Xiyin. Seeing his ugly expression, she shuddered. You can't follow me for the rest of your life. You can learn some things from Rui. I didn't ask you to do anything with him. But His Highness Rui looks very scary. Shisheng was speechless. What did that clown Rui do to scare the young lady like this? Is he as scary as Xiyin? Liang Ji's expression changed. She hurriedly bowed and retreated. Senior sister, good night. Compared to His Highness Rui, Xiyin was obviously scarier. She dawdled back to Rui's house. The door was closed. She took a deep breath and knocked. No one opened the door. Was he not inside? She knocked again. Still no one. After knocking for 5 minutes, Lianggu gave up. Either there was no one inside, or he was purposely not opening the door for her. The next day Rui opened the door. A strange object fell in from the outside, causing him to jump back in fright. When he saw what it was, his expression darkened. He walked over and yelled at the still groggy person. What are you doing sleeping at the door? Am I abusing you? Lianggu was immediately woken up by the yell. She met Rui's angry eyes. Lianggu hurriedly crawled up from the ground and tugged at her clothes. She lowered her head and said, I knocked, but you didn't open the door. Rui froze, his expression changing rapidly. In the end, he grabbed a bunch of keys and stuffed them into Liang Ji's hands. Just like that, Lianggu stayed in Rui's house. When he was in a good mood, he would teach her a few things about vampires. When he was in a bad mood, Lianggu sometimes wouldn't see him for an entire day. But Rui was insistent on making her change her clothes. And his enthusiasm didn't diminish. She looked at the increasing number of clothes in the closet, and felt somewhat worried. Why was His Highness Rui's taste so strange? The kind that was girly and especially sexy with lace. He was especially angry when she didn't wear it. It was as though she had done something wrong. Lianggu only wanted to finish her studies quickly and leave Rui. She didn't want to be with him at all. She didn't like Rui Shui, but he was the first vampire she had met, so he had left a deep impression on her. It was hard not to miss him. Rui didn't feel much about having another person in his house. It was probably like having another kitten or puppy. But when he came back today, he found the house especially cold and cheerless. He frowned. Ran away again? It wasn't like he would eat her. Why did she run away? Rui went upstairs. When he passed by Liang Ji's room, the door cracked open. He saw the clothes on the floor and paused. Then he pushed the door open and entered. She actually dared to throw the clothes on the floor. Rui's hand paused in the middle of picking up the clothes. When he opened his palm, he saw dark red bloodstains on it. When Lianggu woke up, she found herself in someone's arms. The wind whistled past her ears. Your Highness Rui. Lianggu raised her head slightly to see the person holding her. Rui didn't say anything. He carried her back to the room and reached out to strip her of her clothes. Your Highness Rui. Lianggu clutched at her already tattered clothes and backed away in panic. However, she accidentally pulled on the wounds on her body, causing her to suck in a breath of cold air. Rui's frown deepened. Ignoring Liang Ji's resistance, he stripped her naked. There were many wounds on her body. Rui's expression could no longer be described as dark. She dared to touch his people. Even if it was his kitten or puppy, he wouldn't tolerate anyone telling her what to do. With a dark expression, he applied medicine to Lianggu. Lianggu wanted nothing more than to find a hole to crawl into, but the difference in strength between her and her enemy was too great. She couldn't even crawl under a blanket. It wasn't until Rui put a pink dress on her that Liang Ji's awkwardness lessened. There won't be a next time for what happened today. Ruei said and left the room. Did they think he was dead when they kidnapped his people while he wasn't around? Liang Gu heard that the family that kidnapped her had been exterminated, not by Ruei, but by Shisheng. Liang Ji's heart instantly warmed. Sure enough, senior sister still doted on her. While she was recuperating, Ruei tried various ways to dress her up in princess dresses. Eventually, he looked at her with a strange gaze. It was as if he was looking at an extremely fun toy. Liang Gu felt that if she didn't run away, she might catch the eye of a pervert. So as soon as she recovered, she ran away. Ruei, who had just realized that he liked to dress Liang Gu in all sorts of beautiful clothes, was so angry that his face darkened. She ran away once, but she still dared to run away a second time. Asterisk, that's the end of the side story. You can imagine for yourself later. Chapter 305. In that plane, Shisheng lived for a long time. Just when she thought she could continue living, Xiyin was caught off guard and died. Because of the blood contract between her and Xiyin, she naturally couldn't live either. After returning to the system space, Shisheng took out his iron sword and fiercely slashed at the screen. Host, calm down. The system's cold electronic voice urgently sounded. Shisheng's sword slashed at the screen. With a crack, the screen shattered like a spider web. However, the screen still stubbornly stayed on. Host, calm down. Master, come quickly. The host has gone crazy. Calm down my ass. Tell me, how did Xiyin die? His body was perfectly fine, but one day he suddenly couldn't. The system said weakly. Host, staying in a plane for too long is not good for you. Bullshit. Why didn't you let I die in the cultivation plane? I knew it was this damned system's doing. Shisheng slashed at the screen again with his iron sword. Host, please don't damage public property. I'll destroy it. What can you do about it? Shisheng slashed the screen into several pieces. I can't do anything about it, but I can change it into something new. The shattered screen in front of Shisheng suddenly disappeared, and a brand new screen appeared in its place. Shisheng's eyes narrowed. He paused for a moment, and the anger on his face suddenly disappeared. There's something wrong with the host's expression. Forget it. I'd better send her away quickly. The system doesn't want to face such a terrifying host at all. Shisheng's information appeared on the screen. Name, Shisheng morality points. 146500 health points. 30 contribution points. 21,000 mission grade. B mission score. 90 hidden mission. Complete hidden mission reward. 2,000 contribution points item list. Queen's crown. Ghost King's heart. His morality points were becoming more and more unscrupulous. For better or for worse, he was the one who started a new era. Shouldn't he give him a reward? Seriously, he had a cat disease. But you destroyed the development of a plane. I made them evolve ahead of time. Twisting words and forcing logic. The host's condition had worsened again, to the point where there was no cure. Do you wish to enter the next plane? Initializing teleportation. F***CK, wait a minute. I still have something to say to you. However, Shisheng's vision turned black as he disappeared from the system space. My lord, I'm afraid it's not good to keep young Master Duan here. He's now King Ning's concubine. Shisheng looked at the heroic-looking woman in front of him and blinked again and again. My lord, are your eyes uncomfortable? The woman immediately became nervous. You were caught in the rain just now. Did something get into your eyes? I'll call a doctor to take a look at you. After saying that, the woman walked out. Shisheng opened his mouth. Thinking that he could take the opportunity to receive the plot, he did not call out to her. This was a transmigrating female supremacy text. The female lead's name was Jiangji. Before she transmigrated, she was a white-collar worker. She was the kind of person who would be stingy for half a day over a few cents. After that, she transmigrated and became the idiotic princess of the female supremacy country. In the modern world, the female lead had to worry about food and clothing. Here, she didn't have to worry about food and clothing, and she was surrounded by handsome men. Thus, the female lead only wanted to be a riceworm and eat while waiting to die. Her ultimate goal was to have sex with handsome men every day. Yes, this was a text about sex for the sake of sex, with the plot as a supplement. During this time, all kinds of handsome men fell head over heels for her. The female lead loved all of them, and did not know who to choose. It was a female supremacy text, after all. In the end, the female lead displayed her universal love, and became a winner in life. The original owner, Jun Leo, was a young and promising prime minister in her 20s. She was powerful and had a strong backing. Countless men wanted to climb into her bed, but the original owner looked down on all of them. She was also someone who didn't like to explain herself. For some reason, it was rumored that she was tyrannical by nature, and all the young masters of the aristocratic families avoided her. The original owner had a fiancé named Duan Qingyun, whom her family had decided on since she was young. He was supposed to marry into Jun Leo's family after Duan Qingyun's hairpin ceremony. However, Jun Leo's mother passed away the year Duan Qingyun's hairpin ceremony was set. Usually, mourning only took 3 months. Jun Leo respected her mother, so she mourned for her mother for 3 years. She didn't explain anything during these 3 years, only promising the Duan family that she would marry Duan Qingyun after 3 years. However, outsiders thought that Jun Leo didn't want to marry Duan Qingyun. Duan Qingyun had yet to be married to his wife at the age of 18, so he became a laughingstock in this circle. Duan Qingyun didn't know about Jun Leo's promise to the Duan family, so he was also somewhat resentful. Jun Leo had originally planned to marry Duan Qingyun grandly after the mourning period ended. She didn't plan on marrying a concubine, so Duan Qingyun would be the only head of the Jun family in the future. But a month before the mourning period ended, Jun Leo discovered that Duan Qingyun was very close to the female lead. In the end, the female lead even came knocking on her door and asked her to cancel her engagement with Duan Qingyun. She even said that if she didn't want to marry him, then she shouldn't hold him back. Jun Leo was naturally unwilling. When had she ever been unwilling to marry Duan Qingyun? Even if her feelings for him couldn't be considered love, they could still be considered responsibility. However, the female lead pestered her endlessly, telling her that she was free to love. Jun Leo didn't flare up on the spot. After sending the female lead off, she met with Duan Qingyun to ask him what he meant. Somehow, the female lead got the news and hurried over. At the time, Duan Qingyun accidentally spilled boiling hot tea. Out of a sense of responsibility, Jun Leo went over to check. When the female lead arrived, she happened to see Jun Leo grabbing Duan Qingyun's hand. Thinking that Jun Leo was doing something to Duan Qingyun, the female lead confronted Jun Leo. There were a lot of people around, so Jun Leo couldn't explain herself. She wasn't someone who liked to explain herself, so she left in a huff. Gradually, the rumors in the circle changed from her tyrannical nature to that of an irresponsible bully, and so on. Jun Leo's reputation fell to the freezing point. The female lead used her reputation as an idiot to repeatedly pester Jun Leo to cancel her engagement with Duan Qingyun. In the end, the matter even reached the Empress. The Empress was already wary of the Jun family to begin with, and the Duan family held great military power. She was more than happy to have the opportunity to break up the two families. Thus, she issued an edict to cancel the engagement. Jun Leo had once asked Duan Qingyun if he really wanted to cancel the engagement. If he didn't want to, she could have the Empress rescind the edict. However, Duan Qingyun said that he wanted to cancel the engagement. Jun Leo didn't do anything else and followed the Empress's orders to cancel the engagement. As a result, Jun Leo was once again saddled with some bad rumors. The female lead married Duan Qingyun. At first, it was fine as she doted on him. However, as time passed, more and more men appeared by her side. Duan Qingyun's appearance could only be considered above average, so he naturally wasn't favored by the female lead. When Jun Leo met Duan Qingyun again, he was so skinny that he didn't even look like a normal person. His expression was also absent-minded. For better or for worse, they had once been engaged, so Jun Leo went over to ask him a few questions. It turned out that one of the male leads had been poisoned. Duan Qingyun was accused of being the poisoner, but the female lead didn't believe him. If he hadn't met Jun Leo, Duan Qingyun would have sought death at that time. Asterisk the female supreme you want. Although I don't know what I'll write. Chapter 306. She wanted to send him back to the female lead's residence, but Duan Qingyan was dead set on not returning to the Duan family. She could only take Duan Qingyan back to the residence and carefully wait on him. She also sent someone to invite the female lead to take him back. Duan Qingyan couldn't help but feel regret when he saw that she still didn't have a husband. He'd learned from his father not long ago that if he'd waited another month, she would have married him. There were too many men by the female lead's side, and he couldn't compete with them. So Duan Qingyan wanted to return to her side. He took advantage of her illness to climb into her bed. She had a strong sense of responsibility, and she had to take responsibility for the mess she'd made. So, when the female lead came looking for her, Duan Qingyan confronted her. However, the female lead found Duan Qingyan in private and said that she'd found out that it wasn't Duan Qingyan's fault, and that she was very sorry for her negligence. Duan Qingyan probably still liked the female lead, so when the female lead coaxed him like this, Duan Qingyan was coaxed back by the female lead. However, the relationship between Duan Qingyan and Duan Qingyan was unclear. After the female lead took him back, she didn't pamper him at all. Duan Qingyan began to miss his days in the Jun family. Duan Qingyan wasn't an idiot. When he chose to leave with the female lead, Duan Qingyan had no intention of caring about him. As the saying went, it was hard to guard against a villain. Duan Qingyan couldn't get in touch with Duan Qingyan several times, and actually told the female lead that she'd forced herself on him. The female lead cared a lot about her man. Even if she didn't like him anymore, he was still hers. So the female lead began to target Duan Qingyan. Duan Qingyan resisted, and in the eyes of outsiders, she was the one targeting the female lead. This continued until Duan Qingyan's reputation was ruined, and her entire family was executed. And the people outside all felt that the original owner deserved it. Duan Qingyan's death was also quite innocent. Duan Qingyan couldn't understand what she'd done wrong for her to fall to this point. Duan Qingyan was unwilling to accept this. She wanted to live a new life and live a glorious life. She wanted to protect her family's peace and prosperity. Of course, the most important thing was for Duan Qingyan to receive his retribution. She didn't think she'd done anything wrong to him except waste a few years of his time. What right did he have to ally with Jiangji to do this to her? Shisheng face-bombed inside. This Duan Qingyan was a completely evil female lead. However, Duan Qingyan's ending wasn't too bad. The female lead actually didn't pursue the matter of him sleeping with someone else. Shisheng had always thought that her worldview was skewed, but after seeing this kind of plot, she finally understood what it meant to be skewed. You said how much the female lead liked Duan Qingyan, so it was fine if she didn't pursue the matter. But judging from the plot, the female lead's favorite wasn't Duan Qingyan at all. As expected of a modern white-collar worker. In the modern world, who hasn't slept with scum before? My lord, the doctor is here. Shisheng looked up and saw the woman from before come in with another woman carrying a suitcase. Greetings, Prime Minister. This woman was called Dai Yu, and the other was called Ing Yu. These two served the original host, and were the original host's trusted aides. Milord. Why was Milord in a daze? Are your eyes all right? Shisheng came back to her senses and looked at the doctor. She thought about how her body was going to fall ill in the future, and how Duan Qingyan would take advantage of this loophole. She couldn't help but cough and say that her eyes were fine, but she asked the doctor to take a look at her. Milord, you're fine. You just caught a cold. In a moment, this commoner will prescribe some medicine to ward off the cold. Milord will be fine after taking it. Dai Yu heaved a sigh of relief. I'll have to trouble you, doctor. It's no trouble, no trouble, the doctor replied somewhat fearfully before being escorted out by Dai Yu. Dai Yu, send Duan Qingyan back once the rain stops. Shisheng stood at the door and ordered Dai Yu, who was walking back. This scourge should be sent to the female lead. Dai Yu was delighted. Yes. She didn't like that Duan Qingyan. Milord hadn't taken a concubine for so many years because she wanted to marry him. But he had somehow hooked up with the Ning princess and caused Milord to lose so much face in front of the world. Dai Yu and Ing Yu were worried that Milord would suddenly bring him back, afraid that Milord would do something inappropriate. Duan Qingyan probably hadn't expected to be sent back like this. He was somewhat unwilling and made a fuss about wanting to see Shisheng. For better or worse, he was the Ning princess's concubine. The prime minister's servants didn't dare to use force on him, so they could only ask for Shisheng's help. Shisheng had a headache at this time. It was a real headache. When he heard a servant's report, he immediately exploded. See what? If he doesn't leave, beat him up. The servant trembled in fright and chased Duan Qingyan out according to Shisheng's orders. He didn't dare to beat him up. For better or worse, he was the Ning princess's concubine. Duan Qingyan didn't dare to cause trouble outside the prime minister's residence. He was well aware of his current status. However, he couldn't help but feel resentment toward Shisheng. She was clearly the one who brought him back, so why was she so mercilessly chasing him away? In the world of the matriarchs, there wasn't much difference apart from the fact that the positions of men and women were reversed. As the prime minister, Shisheng had to attend morning court every day. He really woke up earlier than the rooster. When he went to court, he naturally had to meet with the female lead. Although the female lead had the title of an idiotic princess, she was about to wash away this title with her hard work. Moreover, she had won the Empress' favor very well. The Empress also put the female lead in more important positions and allowed her to attend court recently. This was a treatment only granted to the crown princess. As the prime minister, Shisheng and the female lead each took the lead, one on the left and one on the right. The crown princess has been punished by the Empress to copy scriptures these past few days. Do you know what's going on? No. The Empress hadn't arrived yet, so some officials started gossiping. I heard that the crown princess is flirting with a man outside. The crown princess can have any man she wants. Why is she still causing trouble outside? Prime Minister, do you know what's going on? A female official closest to Shisheng asked in a low voice. I don't know. Shisheng put on the airs of the prime minister, his expression cold and aloof. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. The crown princess had seen that the female lead was favored recently, so she definitely didn't like it. If she didn't like it, she would cause trouble. The result of her trouble was that the crown princess was punished to copy scriptures. All the supporting characters used their lives to prove a hard truth. Don't ever oppose the female lead. Of course, this was under the premise that their IQ wasn't online. Jiangji glanced at Shisheng with a complicated expression. Shisheng unceremoniously glared back. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen someone as beautiful as me? The original host was able to sit in this position at such a young age because in addition to her own strength, she also had the Jun family as her backing. The Jun family had already held the position of prime minister for 3 consecutive years. The Empress was afraid of the connections and wealth they had accumulated. Therefore, Shisheng wasn't afraid of the female lead at all. Even the Empress didn't dare to do anything to her. But this female lead looks really delicate. In a world where women were superior, women more or less looked more heroic. After all, the men's work was now done by women. She looked too delicate and frail, so she didn't feel safe. Jiangji was stunned by Shisheng's glare. She hadn't looked for her yet, but she still had the nerve to glare at her. Jiangji was about to speak, but a loud shout interrupted her. Her Majesty the Empress has arrived. The chatter around them suddenly disappeared, and they all lowered their heads. Don't ask me why the original host is so broken. She'll only become more and more broken in the future. On the last day of this month, please double the monthly votes. Chapter 307. The Empress looked a little old with white hair on her temples. She looked serious and dignified, so Shisheng had to describe her. She looked exactly like a rigid teacher. Attending court was a boring thing. Shisheng was absent-minded the whole time. When the Empress called her name, she finally came back to her senses. I'm not feeling well these days, so I shouldn't work too hard, Shisheng answered seriously, but her tone was perfunctory. The Empress was speechless. Her prime minister had been absent-minded since just now, and now she was using such an excuse to brush her off. What was the prime minister trying to do? Was she rebelling? Although the Empress knew she was being perfunctory, she still had to follow her words. My dear minister, you're working hard for the country. Don't tire yourself out. Rest well. Shisheng smiled insincerely. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. You don't have anyone at home. Why don't I give you a few beauties? They can take care of you if you're not feeling well. Shisheng was speechless. Taking care of me is a lie, but monitoring me? This was not the first time the Empress wanted to give the host people. In the past, the host always found all kinds of excuses to refuse. Shisheng rolled her eyes. Thank you, Your Majesty. The Empress looked at Shisheng as if she was looking at an alien. Could it be that her prime minister had been replaced by someone else? She was absent-minded during court, refused to do things, and now even accepted people to send her off. No, she had to investigate carefully. The others also had strange expressions. They started to make plans in their minds. Since the prime minister is not feeling well, Prince Ning will take care of it. Jiangji frowned. The Empress was talking about the heaven's sacrifice that would be held soon. The purpose was to pray for the autumn harvest and provide the people with enough food and clothing. Of course, as a modern person, she did not believe in such things. In ancient times, grain production was low and there were too few varieties. Ordinary people did not have land. When winter came, people would starve to death by the dozen. Jiangji wanted to explain to these people what scientific farming was, but she had just gained the Empress' trust. She quickly suppressed this idea. Yes, Your Majesty. I won't let you down. The rest of the content was nothing more than some trivial matters, causing Shisheng to feel drowsy listening to it. So King boring. In the future it would be better to pretend to be sick. After the court session, Shisheng walked out slowly. Jiangji deliberately slowed down and walked side by side with Shisheng. Prime Minister, may I invite you for a chat? Shisheng did not even pause as he rejected her bluntly. No. Jiangji's eyes darkened. Prime Minister, it's about Qingyan. She deliberately emphasized the words Qingyan. Shisheng tilted his head and the corners of his mouth curled up into a mocking smile. That's your concubine. What does it have to do with me? A few days ago, Qingyan went to your residence. Really? Why didn't I know about it? Shisheng began to lie through his teeth. Jiangji. Jiangji's expression changed rapidly. Finally, she pulled a long face and said, Junliu, Qingyan is now this prince's secondary concubine. As the prime minister, you should know how to avoid arousing suspicion. Don't bother Qingyan in the future. Shisheng paused and turned to face Jiangji. He raised his voice slightly. Why don't you say that he's the one who's bothering me? Why would Qingyan bother you? Jiangji immediately retorted. He doesn't like you at all. A forcibly picked melon won't be sweet. If the prime minister really likes him, you should consider his reputation. Shisheng looked at Jiangji without saying a word. Those eyes were as dark as ink, calm and unruffled. When she looked into Jiangji's eyes, she felt as if she had been stripped naked in front of her. She looked at the woman in front of her and moved her lips. How did you know that I liked Duan Qingyan? The original host had never said that she liked Duan Qingyan. Everything she did was based on her own responsibility, because the original host felt that it was her fault for delaying Duan Qingyan for so many years. She should be responsible for him. That was all. Jiangji was rendered speechless by the question. She carefully thought about it, and realized that she really had never said that she liked Duan Qingyan. But what she did before, if that wasn't love, then what was it? By the time Jiangji came back to her senses, Shisheng was long gone. Jiangji muttered in a low voice. If you like him, then you like him. What's there to hide? The ancients are so pretentious. She came from an open-minded era, and had a sense of superiority in her bones. That was why she looked down on Shisheng's cover-up. Yes, in Jiangji's eyes, Shisheng was just covering up. When they returned to the residence, the people the Empress had bestowed upon them had already arrived. Daiyu and Yingyu stood in front of a group of gorgeously dressed men. Their expressions exactly the same. Had Her Excellency been provoked? She even dared to accept the Empress's bestowment. Her Majesty wants me to have no rest for 7 days a week. Shisheng saw the 7 people standing in a row from afar. Very strange comments popped up in Shisheng's mind. 7 dwarves and Snow White? What the hell? Your Excellency, you're back. Daiyu and Yingyu went to greet him. The remaining 7 dwarfs all bowed in greeting. Greetings, Your Excellency. Shisheng trembled all over. To be honest, he was a little unaccustomed to suddenly seeing a group of delicate and weak men. Of course, he didn't dislike it. Every era had its own rules. The Empress had really put in a lot of effort. 7 men, each with their own merits. Some were seductive, some were cute, some were steady. It really was as the saying went. You can choose from them. Who would have thought that this day would come? Their looks were all above average. Any one of them, placed in a normal family, would be spoiled to the heavens. That Shisheng didn't go over. He just pointed at them casually. You can arrange for them to do whatever you want. The February duo. What do you mean by whatever they want? Ingyu was more lively than Daiyu, so she asked shamelessly. Shisheng waved his hand. Just don't let me see them. Ingyu. Then why did you bring them back? Wasn't this unnecessary? Shisheng and the 7 dwarfs were a little far away, so they didn't hear what she said. When they saw Shisheng leave with Daiyu, the 7 dwarfs became anxious. Miss Ingyu, why did the Prime Minister leave? Who will serve the Prime Minister tonight? Serve her? Dream on. Don't say that their mistress was chaste. Just because they were given to her by the Empress, she wouldn't let them serve her. Of course, Ingyu couldn't say this. In any case, these people were given to her by the Empress. Mistress hasn't been feeling well recently and shouldn't work too hard. Gentlemen, please follow me. We can take care of the Prime Minister, one of the gentlemen said unwillingly. Her Majesty sent us here to take care of the Prime Minister. This is our duty. Miss Ingyu, please tell the Prime Minister. Ingyu's face darkened. She didn't understand why her mistress had brought these people back. Mistress needs to rest. Gentlemen, you don't have to say anything. When she wants to see you, she will summon you. Asterisk ding. The National Day event has been delivered. Cherub, please check the book review section. At the end, please vote. The last day. Monthly votes. Don't keep them. They're about to expire. Chapter 308. Sir, didn't you reject the Empress several times? Why are you? Daiyu helped Shisheng take off his court robes. Shisheng took off his hat and smiled at Daiyu. If I want to relax in the future, I'll have to rely on them. What was Sir talking about? Shisheng handed the Empress a booklet and told her that he was in poor health and needed to rest. If there was anything urgent, the Empress could send someone to pass on a message to him. To sum it up, I won't go to court. Don't disturb me with small matters. The Empress couldn't figure out what the Prime Minister wanted to do. She could only agree and let the 7 people investigate. However, the 7 people didn't even get to see Shisheng's face. Daiyu, how are those people? Shisheng asked Daiyu while eating porridge. I've sent people to keep an eye on them. There won't be any news. Shisheng put down his bowl and wiped his mouth. Let's go take a look. Daiyu. Sir, don't take things too hard. Ingyu arranged for the 7 people to live in a large courtyard. Their daily lives were similar to those of women in ancient times. They ate, drank, and slept. They were bored to death. Daiyu looked at Shisheng, who was standing in the dark. She suddenly couldn't figure out what her master was thinking. I think they're a little bored. Shisheng rubbed his chin and looked at them maliciously. Give them something to do. Sir, what do you want them to do? Ingyu didn't know what to do if she didn't ask. All the servants in the Prime Minister's residence should be given a holiday. Ingyu. It can't be what I think it is, right? Shisheng's serious eyes told Ingyu that it was exactly what she thought. Tell them that whoever does a good job will have a chance to see me. Ingyu went to announce Shisheng's new policy in confusion. The 7 people's faces fell when they heard that they had to work to see the Shisheng. They had been learning the 4 arts since they were young. They had never done any work before. However, the conditions were still very tempting. If they could see the Prime Minister, it meant that they had a chance to catch the Prime Minister's eye. As a result, the Prime Minister's residence was filled with a strange competition for favor. Working was still too tiring for them. Some of them couldn't even last a day. Over the next few days, more and more people gave up. My lord, only one is still persevering. Oh, it seems that this person is very loyal to the Empress. The tasks that Yu had given him over the past few days were already difficult enough, but he still didn't give up. Yu and Yu glanced at each other. Madam, your method of distinguishing between people is quite unique. Sir, what are you trying to do? Yu felt like she was being tortured to the point of insanity. She couldn't understand Master's actions at all. And recently His Excellency seemed to have become more… how should I put it? There were clearly more emotions on his face than before, but when she looked at him, she felt that he was even more indifferent than before. Shisheng rested his chin on his hand and looked into the darkness outside the window. I don't want to do anything. I'm just bored and want to play with them. The Empress wanted to give her men, but if she kept refusing, the Empress would continue to do so. It was just that she was too lazy to find an excuse, so she would refuse every single time. Not everyone did everything with a purpose. The human heart was just complicated. Perhaps they were just doing it casually, but they just had to imagine a million words of gratitude and hatred. Shisheng didn't explain to Yu and Yu that he was just playing with them. As a result, the two of them felt that their master was planning something big. Not to mention the two of them, even the Empress was thinking the same thing. What has Junliu been up to lately? The Empress frowned as she looked at Jiangji. She hadn't liked this daughter of hers before, but the abilities she displayed recently made her think more highly of her. To be able to endure for so many years, she was capable of great things. Jiangji remained silent. How would she know what she was up to? The Empress sighed and changed the topic. How are the preparations for the Heavens ritual coming along? We're just missing the Taoist from Mt Wanyuan. Jiangji lowered her head, hiding the disdain on her face. It was just a lie. The ancient people were just superstitious. Make a trip personally. You must invite him respectfully. The Empress carefully instructed Jiangji. Yes. You may return. The Empress waved her hand. Jiangji bowed to the Empress and left the palace. She stood on the steps of the palace, the night wind blowing past her, causing goosebumps to rise all over her body. She'd been here for almost half a year. Time really flew by. Jiangji shook her head and returned to her own residence. Before they even entered the estate, a figure pounced over and angrily grabbed Jiangji's sleeve to complain. Your Highness, you're finally back. You have to seek justice for me. Duan Qingyan broke my favorite magic cloud hairpin. You gave it to me, but I usually can't bear to wear it. Your Highness, I didn't. He's wrongly accusing me. Duan Qingyan had appeared nearby at some point and defended himself. Jiangji rubbed her forehead in frustration. Why couldn't these two get along well? In the end, she spent a lot of effort to appease them. How was she supposed to appease them? Imagine for yourself. While Jiangji was busy preparing for the Heavens ritual, Shisheng was tormenting his male pets in the residence. Yu and Yu felt sympathetic when they saw their miserable state. As expected, His Excellency still didn't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. Who knew who would be able to catch His Excellency's eye in the future? In the end, someone couldn't take it anymore and voluntarily asked to leave. How could Shisheng let that happen? If he left, there would be a second wave. In Shisheng's words, you want to leave after entering the June estate? Sure. Leave horizontally. What was horizontally? You'd be dead. The seven were thoroughly frightened. The rumors about the Prime Minister's tyrannical nature weren't baseless. How had they received this mission in the first place? It was better to meet a lecherous person than a vicious one. Your Excellency, have you heard? Yu hurriedly entered the residence. What? Shisheng held a brush and wrote crookedly. For better or worse, she'd lived in ancient times for so many years, but her calligraphy was like a dog's crawl. Yu looked at the unknown characters and was puzzled. What kind of calligraphy was His Excellency practicing? Shisheng's expression didn't change as he crumpled the paper into a ball and tossed it to the ground. Yu retracted her gaze. A few days ago, didn't this subordinate say that Ningguang went to Mount Wanyuan to invite Taoist priests to preside over the Heavens ritual? Did the female lead take a liking to Taoist priest? I don't know how Ningguang offended Taoist priest, but he didn't come. The Empress sent someone else, but he didn't come either. The Empress was very angry. Yu quickly explained the situation. Shi Sheng drew a tortoise on the rice paper. Ingyu. His Excellency, are you even listening to me? Also, what are you drawing? His Excellency, what kind of strange calligraphy are you practicing? Why can't this subordinate understand it at all? Asterisk little fairy. I'm starving to death. Cherub, hurry up and feed me. I need tickets, recommendation tickets, monthly tickets. Chapter 309. The Taoist priests of Wanyuan Mountain were very respected in this world. Even the empress treated them with respect. The reason? No idea. It was a rule that had been passed down for a long time. However, the population of Wanyuan Mountain had withered, so they were not as popular as before. Even so, they were still very popular among the royal family. Jiang Ji went to invite the Taoist priest but offended him instead. How could the empress not be angry? The people the empress sent were all rejected mercilessly. In the end, it was Shi Sheng's turn to go. Shi Sheng wanted to pretend to be sick and not go. But the empress was very foresight. She even prepared his outfit. When she announced the decree, many people came to watch. Shi Sheng gritted his teeth and got into the carriage. She could be stubborn and not go, but the Jun family would be cursed to death by these people's spittle. The original owner's last wish was for the Jun family to be well. If she did not go, the Jun family would not be at peace. No matter where it was, people in power loved to play with the word public opinion. Wanyuan Mountain was not far from the capital. In order to show her appreciation for the Taoist priests of Wanyuan Mountain, the empress put in a lot of effort. Shi Sheng propped up her chin as she watched the scenery outside slowly recede. There was no spiritual energy in this world. The Taoist priests of Wanyuan Mountain were probably just chanting scriptures and meditating. When they arrived at Wanyuan Mountain, it was already late. Looking at the stairs that were comparable to climbing to heaven, Shi Sheng looked at Eryu unhappily. His face was full of dissatisfaction. You want me to climb up with my legs? Are you kidding me? Sir, please bear with it. Ingyu comforted him. Isn't this a task given by the empress? Besides, climbing the mountain is healthy for both physical and mental health. Dayu nodded. Yes, sir. You have to walk for a while. It'll be easier to report back. Shi Sheng was still unhappy. It's so high. I'll die if I climb up. Wait for me here. I'll go up alone. Ingyu immediately objected. How can you do that? Although this is Wanyuan Mountain, your safety comes first. The Taoist priests of Wanyuan Mountain did not like crowds, so they planned to only bring a few people to accompany the empress. The rest of the team would rest at the foot of the mountain. How could he suddenly hear Shi Sheng going up by herself? Eryu refused to let Shi go up alone. Shi Sheng. This Bao Bao wants to use the iron sword to fly up. What are you guys doing? That's an order, Shi Sheng said with a straight face. Don't follow me, or I'll go back now. You err. Why is Master's temper worse than before? Shi Sheng ran up the stairs and disappeared into the night. When the people behind him couldn't see him anymore, he took out his iron sword and flew up. The Taoist temple on the mountain was quite big, but there were only two places with light. One was on a higher cliff, and the other was in a courtyard. Shi Sheng frowned as he landed in the courtyard. Why is this Taoist temple so quiet? He didn't seem to be human at all. Creak. The door of the room on the left was suddenly opened. Light poured out from the room and shrouded the Shi Sheng, leaving a long shadow. Ah! A short cry came from the other side. Standing at the door was a young man of about 11 or 12 years of age. He was fair and tender and wore a green Taoist robe. Who are you? Why are you here? The young man adjusted his crooked hat and peered outside. Are you from the imperial court? Many people from the imperial court had come these days, so the young man couldn't help but guess. Yes, call out the person in charge here. The other party was a young man, so Shi Sheng didn't show his ferocious look. Senior brother is resting. The young man kept holding his Taoist hat. Come back tomorrow. Shi Sheng. She climbed up the mountain in the middle of the night, and this guy actually asked her to come back tomorrow? What a joke. This Bao Bao's time is very precious, okay? The young man saw that the woman who was quite calm just now had suddenly become ferocious, and was striding toward him. Her aura scared him so much that he stepped back. What do you want? This is Mount Wanyuan. I'm a disciple of Mount Wanyuan. You can't do anything to me. Pa. Shisheng slapped the door. Take me to see your senior brother, right now. The young man had probably never met such a rude and unreasonable woman before. He was so scared that he trembled, and his little face turned even paler. Senior brother isn't seeing guests at night. Although he was so scared that he almost peed his pants, the young man still gritted his teeth and answered. Shisheng's eyes curved. Is that so? The young man felt his butthole tighten. What do you want? Shisheng stepped into the room and grabbed the young man's neck. Do you want to die, or take me there? The young man was almost crying as he led Shisheng to the cliff where she had seen the light earlier. It was a loft built on the cliff, and there was no road in the middle. How do we get there? Shisheng looked at the young man who was shaking like a sieve. Fly over. The young man replied softly. Fly? There was no spiritual energy in this world. So how did this senior brother of the young man fly over? Did he grow wings? Bird man. Hidden mission. Yuziqingshu Shisheng stared blankly at the nearby light. The hidden mission was actually here? A Taoist priest. Yuziqingshu, why didn't you just say die together? System. Are you King kidding me? Mission objective. Lingyu, take him as your lord. Very well. Another name I've never heard of. Shisheng took a deep breath. Once I get back, I'm going to hack that space apart. She took out her iron sword and, under the young man's horrified gaze, sat on the iron sword and flew over. There were 3 floors to the loft, and at the bottom was a square platform. The light came from the top of the loft. As soon as she landed, she saw a person push open the door to the loft, holding an oil lamp in his hand. He wore the same Taoist robes as the young man, and his black hair was tied up with a white jade hairpin, and tied with a white headband. He stood there quietly, his slender brows slightly furrowed as he looked at Shisheng with his clear eyes. The flickering light outlined his perfect facial features, and he exuded an ethereal aura, as if he were a transcendent expert. If such a person were in the capital, who knew how many girls would go crazy over him? You've trespassed on Mt Wanyuan. Please return, Your Excellency, the expert said. His voice was as clear as a mountain spring, the kind that could make one's ears pregnant. Shisheng. Return my ass. Shisheng examined him for a bit before suddenly taking large strides towards him. This guy is most likely that little demon Feng Xi. Unfortunately, I can't confirm it without spiritual energy. Regardless, I'll kidnap him first and think of a way to confirm it later. Lingyu took a step back, his eyes filled with wariness and displeasure. Just as Shisheng was about to reach him, he pulled out a flexible sword from somewhere and attacked Shisheng. Whoa, he actually dares to attack I. Shisheng still hadn't retrieved his iron sword, and given her aggressive demeanor, it was only natural that Lingyu would attack. National Day Long Review event details are posted in the comments section. Format frowny face CI Sheng has you. Write what you want to say here. For details, you can refer to the cherub posted in the comments section. Hint: it's best to write on a memo so that you can copy it. Chapter 310. Lingyu's swordsmanship wasn't bad, and Shisheng could even sense an unusual power within it. He didn't know what that flexible sword was made of, but it didn't seem to have any problems even after taking so many hits from her iron sword. Shisheng hadn't fought in this body before, so he wasn't used to it. There were a few times when he was almost stabbed by Lingyu's sword. The flexible sword came at a tricky angle, containing that strange power. Shisheng wasn't able to react in time, and was stabbed in the arm. Shisheng leaned to the side and retreated. She glanced at the cut on her arm, her gaze darkening for a moment. Please return. Lingyu sheathed his sword, his expression indifferent. His tone was as flat as ever. Shisheng retracted his gaze and smiled at Lingyu. A life for a life. You stabbed me, but I don't need you to pay with your life. You can repay me with your body. Lingyu's inky black eyes were calm, but he could feel a murderous aura emanating from them. That murderous aura was faintly discernible. It wasn't dense, but it couldn't be ignored. Lingyu gripped his flexible sword tightly and raised his guard. If Your Excellency is here for the heavens ritual, please return. Shisheng narrowed his eyes. I haven't even said who I am. How do you know who I am and why I'm here? He called her, Your Excellency, the moment they met. She didn't have anything on her that could reveal her identity, nor did she say her name. How could he be so sure? Jun Liu. Ling Yu accurately called out her name. Very good. You don't even need to introduce yourself. Shisheng nodded in satisfaction. Are you coming with me willingly, or do I have to take you with me? Forgive this one for being unable to help with the heavens ritual. Who said anything about the heavens ritual? Shisheng cut him off. I'm asking if you're coming with me willingly, or do I have to take you with me? Ling Yu was speechless. What's the difference? He looked at Shisheng without batting an eyelid. The murderous aura around her had disappeared without a trace, and she now seemed harmless and carefree. Ling Yu frowned. This woman, her facial features were complicated, and he couldn't see through her at all. Her way of doing things was also strange. Ling Yu fell silent for a moment. Sir, please allow me to consider it. Tomorrow morning, if you can't make up your mind, I'll make the decision for you. Shisheng didn't press him. He shamelessly looked at the attic behind him and said, Let me stay for one night. Ling Yu was speechless. He picked up the extinguished oil lamp on the ground and turned to enter the attic. As he closed the door, he looked at the Shisheng and said, Men and women shouldn't touch each other. It's better for you to rest in the Taoist temple. Shisheng was speechless. Shisheng pulled up his sleeve and looked at the wound. It was a little deep and painful. TSK, he was so ruthless. He was going to love her to death. Host, aren't you being too confident? What if he isn't Feng Xiai? The next day, when Ling Yu opened the door, he saw a woman leaning against the doorframe. Yesterday, the lighting was dim, and she was standing with her back to the light, so he couldn't see her clearly. Now that he looked at her, he realized that she was quite pretty. Have you thought it through? Lil Priest. Shisheng's eyes curved into crescents the moment she saw him. Ling Yu was speechless. You look even better when you smile. My master has always been in charge of the heavens ritual. I can't guarantee that it'll succeed. Oh, that's fine. Even if it fails, I can protect you. Ling Yu's expression turned cold. I don't need your protection. Why not? The Empress is very scary when she's angry. Little Taoist, I'm very powerful. Why don't you consider giving yourself to me? Shisheng tried his best to promote himself. Ling Yu couldn't even be bothered to look at him. Your Excellency, I'm a Taoist. The mundane world isn't within my consideration. A Taoist can also return to the mundane world. There's no point in having too many people. As the saying goes, work is less tiring when men and women work together. Shisheng continued. Ling Yu was speechless. He looked up at the sky with an indescribable expression. In the end, he sighed inwardly. Since Your Excellency was able to come here, you should be able to pass through as well. I'll wait for you at the Taoist temple. Shisheng watched as Ling Yu lightly tapped his feet twice, then suddenly flew up. Using the cliff as leverage, he quickly reached the mountain path on the other side. Shisheng was speechless. This is Qigong? Although there wasn't any spiritual energy in the ancient world, these people were still able to cultivate the legendary internal energy Qigong, and the like. She hadn't thought of it last night. The original owner of her body was a civil official, so she'd only practiced some martial arts for self-defense. She'd never had the chance to learn something as awesome as Qigong, nor had she had the time. Shisheng wondered if it was too late for her to learn at her age. She slowly took out her iron sword and rode it down the mountain. Shisheng went down the mountain in a straight line, while Ling Yu went around the mountain path. Shisheng had arrived before him. So when Ling Yu saw Shisheng arrive at the Taoist temple before him, he stared at her for a full 3 seconds before looking away. Behind him was the little Taoist whose eyes were already swollen from crying. The little Taoist was very afraid of Shisheng and tried his best to hide behind Ling Yu. Senior brother. This woman is too scary. I wonder if senior brother was bullied by her last night. Tui, senior brother won't be bullied. Senior brother is so powerful. Ling Yu gave the little Taoist some instructions, but the little Taoist's expression was one of worry and wariness. Can't senior brother not go? This woman doesn't have any good intentions. How can senior brother go with her? Ling Yu whispered a few words to the little Taoist. Although the little Taoist was still a bit unwilling, he didn't stop him. Then senior brother should come back soon. Amen. Senior brother, you have to be careful. The little Taoist glanced meaningfully in Sheng's direction. It's not like I'm going to eat your senior brother. Why are you looking at me like that? Sheng felt a bit uncomfortable under the little Taoist's gaze and retorted. Humph. The little Taoist turned his head away. Senior brother is so handsome, who knows if you'll go berserk. You brat. Sheng rolled up his sleeves, about to beat the little Taoist up. Let's go. Ling Yu blocked Sheng's path. Sheng waved his fist at the brat, and smiled wickedly. If your senior brother leaves with me, he won't be coming back. You can stay here by yourself. Nonsense. Senior brother won't abandon me. The little Taoist was immediately enraged. He ran over in a few steps and raised his small face. Tears were already glistening at the corners of his eyes. Senior brother, you'll come back, right? Your Excellency, if you keep acting like this, I won't follow you down the mountain, Ling Yu warned with a frown. Finally, he patted the little Taoist's head. Senior brother will be back soon. Take good care of the house. The little Taoist let out a sigh of relief when he heard this, then looked toward Sheng proudly. Senior brother won't abandon me. Sheng pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Instead, he stroked his iron sword with a cold gaze that caused the little Taoist to feel a chill run down his spine. Whether intentionally or not, Ling Yu used his body to block Sheng's line of sight, separating the two of them. After separating from the little Taoist, Sheng continued walking quietly. He didn't tease Ling Yu, nor did he say anything else. Just like that, the two of them descended the mountain in an eerie silence. Sheng. I'm not happy about you touching other people. Ling Yu. Sheng, idiot. Ling Yu. Chapter 311. When Dai Yu and Ning Yu saw that Sheng had really invited the Taoist priest of Mt Wanyuan down the mountain, they were both surprised and pleasantly surprised. This time, the Empress had nothing to say, but when they looked at the Taoist, My lord, are you sure you didn't just pick a random person? So young? Where is Priest Tianxiu? My lord, you can't just randomly pick someone. Although this little Taoist priest looked quite handsome, this matter was not about looks. What heavenly oasis? I didn't see him. There were only two people in the entire temple. One was underage, and the other. He was probably underage as well. Fei Yue. Master is traveling outside, so I'm in charge of Mt Wanyuan. If the two ladies feel that I'm not up to the task, I'll return. The two youths looked at each other and bowed. Please don't be angry, Taoist priest. We were rude. Since he is Taoist priest Tianxiu's disciple, he must be competent. It took a lot of effort for His Excellency to invite someone down. At least it was better than those who he had not even seen before. Sheng jumped onto the carriage, not caring about what you had planned for Ling Yu. Ling Yu only felt that this woman was being ridiculous. He didn't provoke her, so why was she angry? When the Empress heard that the Sheng had managed to invite Ling Yu back, she happily rewarded the Sheng with many gifts before sending someone to escort Ling Yu into the palace. Sheng did not say anything during the whole process. Dai Yu and Ning Yu could tell that Sheng was in a bad mood, so they didn't dare to say anything. They were very careful when serving him. My lord, there will be a banquet tonight. Do you think? I'm not going. Ning Yu's words were stuck in her throat. She hadn't finished speaking yet. Your Excellency, this banquet is to welcome Taoist Ling Yu back. As the Prime Minister, it would be inappropriate for you to not attend. Dai Yu continued. Sheng looked up at Dai Yu. Dai Yu immediately lowered her head. Did she say something wrong? Why was His Excellency's gaze so terrifying? The Imperial Palace. Ling Yu sat on the seat of honor to the right. He was the only male in the entire hall, and the gazes that were sizing him up made him very uncomfortable. The past few days in the palace had made him even more miserable. Sheng sat diagonally across from him. His eyes were downcast as he played with the wine glass in his hand. Ling Yu's gaze swept past her, Then he lowered his gaze as if he hadn't seen her. The crown princess sat across from Lingyu with a fangirl look on her face, drooling at the corner of her mouth. Jiangji looked at the crown princess with disdain. As the crown princess, how could she not care about her image? Perhaps sensing Jiangji's gaze, the crown princess put away her fangirl expression and glared fiercely at Jiangji. You've already offended the Taoist priest, yet you're still shamelessly approaching him. Why didn't I realize that you're so shameless before? Jiangji snorted. I'm just apologizing to the Taoist priest. Do you think everyone is as shameless as you? Who are you calling shameless? The crown princess was furious. She was the future empress. So what if she took a fancy to a man? That was his fortune. In the future he would be her husband. But this woman just had to go against her. She even went to the empress and caused her to be punished by copying scriptures for so long. Even something like the heavens ritual had been handed over to her by the empress. I'll tell whoever asked. Jiangji, don't be so smug. This time, I won't let you off the hook. The undercurrent between the two of them was turbulent, and the people below were also in a heated discussion. This Taoist Lingyu is really handsome. What a pity. Shu, lower your voice. He's Taoist Tianqu's disciple. Don't speak carelessly. Hey, I heard that the crown princess and the Ning princess are both fawning over him. Taoist Lingyu. Lingyu. Clack. A wine cup was slammed down on the table, and the chatter around them abruptly died down. Everyone turned to look in the direction of the sound. This prime minister sees that you all have a lot of free time on your hands. How about this prime minister submit a request to the empress to reduce your salary? What do you all think? All the officials. How did we offend this jinx? Wasn't it just a few words of discussion? Everyone glanced at Lingyu, then at Shisheng's icy expression. They all fell silent. It seemed that the crown princess and the Ning princess weren't the only ones interested in Taoist Lingyu. Even the prime minister was interested in him. The empress didn't appear at the banquet. Apparently, she wasn't feeling well. Thus, the crown princess became the host of the banquet. Shisheng watched as the crown princess leaned over to speak to Lingyu, her body almost touching his. Jiangji probably noticed that Lingyu wasn't used to it, so she went over to pull the crown princess away. The two of them began to bicker again. No one knew what Shisheng was thinking as he downed cup after cup of wine, an oppressive aura surrounding him. While the crown princess and Jiangji were bickering, the others took advantage of this opportunity to offer Lingyu a toast. He didn't drink alcohol, so he used tea instead. I've never heard of Taoist priest abstaining from alcohol. Didn't Taoist Tianqiu always drink alcohol? Taoist priest, you must drink this cup of wine. I don't drink alcohol. Lingyu's brows were tinged with displeasure, but his tone was the same as usual. Is Taoist priest looking down on me? This voice caused the noisy scene to quiet down. Everyone's gazes were focused on Lingyu and the woman who was toasting. Lord Lin, what are you doing? Jiangji immediately stepped forward. Taoist priest must have his reasons for not drinking alcohol. How about this, I'll drink in his place. Jiangji poured a cup of wine, raised it at Lord Lin, and downed it in one gulp. Ning Wang, you're in the wrong here. Today we're all here to welcome Taoist priest, so how can you help him? No, Taoist priest should at least drink a cup to express his sincerity. That's right, Taoist priest should just drink a cup to express his sincerity. We don't need him to drink too much. As more and more people joined in, their words became more and more unpleasant, and the scrutinizing gazes became more and more blatant. Lingyu's expression gradually turned unsightly. He lowered his gaze, hiding the surging killing intent in his eyes. After a while, he reached out to grab a cup filled with wine and downed it with a frown. The ice-cold wine slid down his throat and down his esophagus, where it immediately heated up. Good. Taoist priest, as expected of Taoist Tianqiu's brilliant disciple. Let me toast you. Right now, quite a few people were drunk. With such a good-looking man sitting there, it was like a little lamb falling into a pack of wolves. Lingyu was completely surrounded by people. Some were urging him to drink, some were vaguely flirting with him. He gripped his sleeves tightly, the killing intent in his eyes threatening to overflow. Master said that his face was too eye-catching and would bring him disaster. He didn't believe it before, but today he experienced it firsthand. Ah! This scream abruptly resounded throughout the hall. The person who had been the loudest just now had been kicked, and was now sprawled on the table next to Ling Yu like a tortoise. Shisheng pushed aside the people blocking his way, and roughly flipped the person over. You want to drink, right? Go get some wine. The first sentence was directed at the person he was carrying, while the second was directed at the onlookers. Prime Minister. Shisheng looked over coldly. Bring some wine. Shisheng. You dare to touch eyes people? Happy National Day, babies. The double monthly votes are still in effect. New month TUVE all saved up some food. Requesting monthly votes, requesting recommendation votes. Chapter 312. Someone nearby was quick enough to hand Shisheng a jug of wine. Shisheng grabbed the woman's chin and forced her to open her mouth, then poured the wine down her throat. Gulp, 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 gulp. The sound of wine being poured and swallowed was especially ear-piercing in the hall. The people around them didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Even the crown princess and Jiangji were shocked by Shisheng's domineering actions. Prime Minister. Ling Yu could see Shisheng's side profile from where he was standing. Her skin was fairer than normal people's, and seemed to be glowing. Her expression was calm, and he couldn't tell if she was happy or angry, but he could sense that she was very angry. Shisheng poured several flasks of wine down her throat before letting go of the woman. He reached out and patted her cheek. Do you still want to drink? Burp. The woman burped and shook her head in horror. Smack. Crash. The wine flask fell to the ground and shattered into countless pieces. She stood in the midst of the shattered pieces, her calm gaze sweeping over the people around her. Those who spoke rudely just now, do you want to drink on your own, or do you want this prime minister to help you? Silence. It was as if someone had pressed the pause button. After a while, someone finally spoke up in a panic. Drink on our own, drink on our own. Go get the wine quick. Prime Minister, please calm down. Someone quickly brought the wine over, and the group of people fought to be the first to drink. Even the Empress didn't dare to casually offend the Prime Minister, so how could they afford to offend her? Don't forget who you are and who he is. Shisheng tossed these words down, then left the hall. The group of people grew more and more terrified. They had been a little dizzy from drinking, so they'd forgotten that this was a Taoist from MT Yuan. He wasn't an ordinary person. The group of people apologized to Ling Yu in fear and trepidation. They dared to speak rudely to Ling Yu mainly because they'd been drinking, but also because they'd underestimated him. After all, he really did look very young. Taoist Ling Yu, let me send you back. The crown princess regained her senses and hurriedly said, I'll definitely have Mother Empress give you an explanation for what happened today. Don't be afraid. These idiots, they actually dared to take liberties with the person I fancy. Taoist Ling Yu, let me send you off. Jiangji was worried about the crown princess. Who knew what she would do next? Ning Wang, the people in your estate are still waiting for you to return. I'll take care of sending Taoist Ling Yu off. Jiangji's expression didn't change. Why don't we send priest Ling Yu off together? Ling Yu retracted his gaze from the entrance of the hall and propped himself up. The people around immediately opened up a path. The crown princess and Jiangji stood on either side of Ling Yu as they left the hall. On the way back, the crown princess was hurriedly called away by the empress subordinates. Thus, only Jiangji was left to escort Ling Yu back. Taoist priest, I'm very sorry about what happened last time. I didn't know. Jiangji apologized sincerely to Ling Yu. Ling Yu's expression was somewhat dazed, and he felt as if his insides were on fire. He tried to use his internal energy to suppress the heat, but to no avail. Taoist priest, what's wrong? As Jiangji spoke, she realized that the person in front of her was walking unsteadily and could fall at any time. She subconsciously supported him and exclaimed, Why is it so hot? Ling Yu tugged at his clothes. So hot. Through his clothes, Ling Yu felt something cold close to him. The comfortable sensation caused him to let out a strange moan. Jiangji seemed to have thought of something, and her expression changed. Those people are actually so bold. Taoist priest, bear with it. Jiangji looked left and right, then led him to a rock garden in the distance. Right now Ling Yu only had one feeling. Hot. The cool sensation beside him made him involuntarily lean closer. Shisheng was lying on a rock. She had drunk some wine earlier, and felt a little uncomfortable. Now that the night breeze was blowing, she felt much better. A faint sound came from somewhere. Shisheng frowned. Why can't it be quiet anywhere? She got up and prepared to leave. But when she glanced down, she abruptly froze. She was standing on top of the rock garden, so she could clearly see the situation below. Jiangji had pushed Ling Yu onto the rock garden, and was currently undoing his clothes. Ling Yu is actually having an affair with the female lead? Holy shit. This definitely isn't my feng shui. Shisheng turned to leave. Hot. His nasal voice was scattered by the wind, but it still made Shisheng stop in her tracks. Her expression changed. After a moment of careful observation, Ling Yu seemed to be unconscious. Just as Jiangji was about to undo Ling Yu's outer clothes, there was a sudden sound behind them. Sensing danger, Jiangji hurriedly pulled Ling Yu away, but she was still too slow. Her shoulder hurt, and the person she was pulling was also pulled over by a force. Jiangji fell to the ground in a sorry state. Under the dim moonlight, she could see the person standing in front of her. Jun Liu. Shisheng pried away the hand that was wrapped around her, then half-supported, half-carried Ling Yu to the rock garden. Swish! Jun Liu, what are you doing? Seeing the person walking towards her, Jiangji pretended to be calm and shouted. Jun Liu, are you trying to commit a crime? Shisheng looked down at Jiangji and smirked. Who would know that I was the one who killed you? A hint of panic flashed through Jiangji's eyes. In order to avoid people, she had specifically chosen a place where almost no one would come. Who knew that she would run into Jun Liu here? Jun Liu. Shisheng raised his iron sword and swung it down at Jiangji. Shisheng felt a strong resistance, as if the iron sword was being sucked in by some force. She had to use all the strength in her body to push the iron sword down. Clang! Shisheng's hand suddenly shifted, and the iron sword brushed past Jiangji's shoulder and fell to the ground. Swish! Hidden weapons flew over from the front, forcing Shisheng and Jiangji to put some distance between them. A black figure dashed over from afar, picked up Jiangji, and disappeared into the darkness with a few leaps. Fuck. Shisheng slashed the fake mountain beside her with her sword, causing it to shatter into pieces. The female lead was awesome. No matter what happened, there would always be someone to save her. Hot. Shisheng sheathed his sword and returned to Ling Yu's side. His clothes had already been undone by Jiangji, and now he was tugging on them, revealing his exquisite, sexy collarbones. Shisheng's expression darkened as he wrapped Ling Yu up, then carried him out of the palace. When they returned to the Prime Minister's residence, Yu and Yingyu were horrified to see Shisheng carrying a man. Where did Her Excellency go to carry a man? Go get a doctor. Yu went to get a doctor, while Yingyu followed Shisheng into the room. Only when Shisheng placed the man on the bed did Yingyu get a good look at him. Your Excellency. Yingyu stuttered. Why did you bring Taoist Ling Yu back? Wasn't Her Excellency going to attend Taoist Ling Yu's welcoming banquet? Why did she just bring him back? Taoist Ling Yu looked, and a little abnormal. Go get some water. Shisheng glared at Yingyu. Yingyu hurriedly shut up, and went to get some water. Thank you to the cherub who tipped me. Happy National Day, begging for monthly votes. Chapter 313. Your Excellency, this young master. The doctor broke out in a cold sweat. The Prime Minister's gaze was so cold that it was about to freeze. If you have something to say, just say it. Yu reminded the doctor. The doctor wiped the sweat off her forehead. This young master has been poisoned with the potent Qianjiahuan. There's no antidote. Smack. The teacup next to Shisheng was swept to the ground by her. These people sure have guts. Your Excellency. Yingyu called out. Shisheng took a deep breath. There's really no other way. The doctor shook her head. The young master probably wasn't poisoned directly by Qianjiahuan. Instead, it was a mild drug that clashed with a drug called shuha grass in his body. The doctor paused and glanced at Shisheng's expression. She carefully replied, "This drug is even more potent than directly poisoning him with Qianjiaohuan. He can't endure it? I can tell that the young master is a martial artist. If he can endure it, his martial arts will be crippled." "It's that serious?" Shisheng frowned. The doctor nodded honestly. Qianjiaohuan was a potent drug that had already been diluted. Normal people wouldn't be able to endure its effects, much less this kind of undiluted drug. Go and invite all the doctors in the city, the imperial physicians. Shisheng suddenly paused, his brows tightly knitted together. Since the doctor had already said that there was no antidote, if there was still no antidote even after she invited so many people, rumors would probably start spreading very quickly. "Your Excellency? Should they invite them or not?" In the end, Shisheng had someone invite them over, but everyone had to be blindfolded. However, these people said the same thing as the first doctor. There was no antidote. Shisheng was so angry that he almost pulled out his iron sword to cut them down. "All of you leave." Shisheng waved his hand. Yu and Daiyu looked at each other for a few seconds, then left the room and closed the door behind them. Shisheng looked at the unconscious Yu on the bed with a conflicted expression. How could he be sure that he wasn't Feng Xiai without any spiritual power? Hot. Yu kicked the blanket off him. His face was red, and the skin below his neck was a faint pink. Sensing that someone was beside the bed, he actually struggled to crawl over. Shisheng got up to avoid it. Yu squirmed uncomfortably on the bed, his soft moans echoing throughout the room. After a long while, Shisheng rolled up his sleeves and climbed onto the bed. Yu immediately pounced on him, but Shisheng quickly wrapped him up in the blanket, including his hands and feet, leaving only his head exposed. "It hurts." Yu continued to twist and turn. Shisheng's face darkened. If this guy wasn't Feng Xiai, she would chop him into pieces. Yu's face was covered in a sheen of sweat, and his face was even redder than before. Shisheng did not dare to lift the quilt for him, so he could only let him stay warm. Yu's condition improved slightly, but only slightly. His blurry consciousness became a little clearer, and he vaguely saw that there was someone beside him. He suddenly quivered, and his blurry consciousness slowly became clear. "You." There was a hint of seduction in his voice. Yu didn't dare to utter another word. "Have you regained consciousness?" Shisheng leaned closer to take a look. His face was still gloomy. "Very good. Do it yourself." She got out of bed. Yu's mind exploded, and his face began to burn. Shisheng turned around without a change in expression. The person on the bed was biting his lip, his body stiff and unmoving. She approached the bed and leaned over slightly, meeting Yu's somewhat dazed eyes. "You don't still want me to help you, do you? You want to endure it? Only if you don't want your martial arts anymore." Yu probably didn't expect things to be so serious. Of course, he didn't think that Shisheng was lying to him. After all, she didn't do anything to him when he was already like that. You turn around." Shisheng rolled her eyes at him, then walked out of the room. "Why the hell are you being so unreasonable for?" Yu heard the door close, and only then did his tense body relax. Shisheng stood outside, looking up at the crescent moon in the sky. Her hands were trembling by her sides, and her eyes were filled with killing intent. She stood there all the way until dawn. When Yu and Daiyu came over, they saw Shisheng standing outside with cautious expressions. "Milord." Why was Milord standing outside so early in the morning? She was wearing yesterday's clothes as well. Find someone to serve her, a man. Yes. Shisheng headed for the study. Daiyu and Yu exchanged glances. Yu followed Shisheng, while Daiyu went to make the necessary arrangements. Yu's bed was a mess. Just as he was wondering what to do, two youths entered the room. "Young master." Yu looked at them awkwardly. The two youths lowered their heads respectfully. "Does young master wish to bathe and change?" Yu was covered in sweat last night, and his body was sticky and uncomfortable. When he heard the youth's question, he couldn't help but nod. Daiyu's men had all undergone strict training, so they wouldn't ask too many questions. Even when they saw the mess on the bed, They just dutifully tidied it up and replaced it with new sheets. Dayu's men had all undergone strict training, so they wouldn't ask too many questions. Even when they saw the mess on the bed, they just dutifully tidied it up and replaced it with new sheets. Ling Yu, on the other hand, was a bit uncomfortable. "Where's your milord?" "Milord has entered the palace," one of the youths replied. Ling Yu's eyes narrowed, a cold glint flashing through them. He turned to look at the room. From the furnishings, it was obvious that this was the master's room. Last night he was actually... "How many attendants does your milord have?" Ling Yu immediately regretted asking. Why did he ask this for no reason? But what was said couldn't be taken back. "Milord doesn't have anyone by her side." "Don't worry, young master, your milord's first." "Miss Dayu." The two youths bowed in unison. "Is everything tidied up?" "Yes." "You may leave. Remember the rules. What should and shouldn't be said." "Yes." The two youths left the room. Dayu smiled at Ling Yu. Would young master like to eat? If she hadn't seen the things they took out earlier, she would have thought that milord hadn't done anything last night. But young master Ling Yu's identity was a little troublesome. Ling Yu's mind was still replaying Dayu's words. She didn't have a single person by her side. As the prime minister, even if she didn't have a master, she should have attendants. "Young master?" Ling Yu snapped out of his daze, his expression unreadable. "I'd like to enter the palace." "I'll have to trouble, miss. Milord has said that you can rest assured and not worry about anything else. Milord will take care of it." "Ling Yu." Ling Yu snapped out of his daze, his expression unreadable. "I'd like to enter the palace." "I'll have to trouble, miss. Milord has said that you can rest assured and not worry about anything else. Milord will take care of it." Ling Yu. Asterisk requesting votes, requesting votes, requesting votes, requesting votes, requesting votes, requesting votes. Everyone cast your votes. Chapter 314. During the morning assembly today, the group of people were still a little dizzy. They drank too much last night. But when they saw the woman slowly walking over, they all shuddered. Why did she come to court today? The Shisheng's gaze swept across everyone's faces, a mocking smile on his face. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. But the Shisheng walked to his seat without a word, showing no intention of making things difficult for them. The Empress entered with a gloomy expression and reprimanded everyone. Even the Crown Princess wasn't spared. "How dare you provoke someone from Mt Yuan? We think you're all tired of living." The people below wanted nothing more than to bury their heads in the ground. Who told that little Taoist to be so good-looking? It was their fault. All of you. Apologize to us one by one. If Taoist Ling Yu doesn't forgive you, there's no need for you to come see us. Your Majesty. The Empress was furious. What, Your Majesty? Does anyone have an opinion? Your Majesty, Taoist Ling Yu has disappeared. The person who spoke earlier braced himself and finished speaking. There was a moment of silence, followed by the sound of the Empress smashing things. Who sent the Taoist back last night? The Empress finally calmed down after losing her temper. It was the Crown Princess and the Ning Prince. The Crown Princess immediately retorted. I was halfway there when Imperial Mother sent someone to summon me. The Taoist left with the Ning Prince. Where is the Ning Prince? Only then did everyone realize that the Ning Prince hadn't come to court. The Shisheng yawned as he listened to everyone trying to shirk responsibility. The coldness in his eyes deepened. In the end, the Empress sent someone to the Ning Prince's residence to look for him. The Empress was so angry she felt dizzy and had to be helped to the back to rest. Once the Empress left, the Shisheng straightened his clothes and walked to the center of the room. He raised his voice and asked, "Who drugged Ling Yu last night?" "Prime Minister, what do you mean by that?" "What drug?" This was the first person to force Ling Yu to drink, Official Lin. She was a little tanned, but at least she wasn't ugly. Official Lin met the Shisheng's gaze and felt a chill run down her spine. She couldn't see any emotion in those eyes, as if she was an inanimate object in her eyes. "Who drugged Ling Yu?" The Shisheng repeated. Drugged. Was it what they understood? Last night was a palace banquet. No matter how bold they were, they wouldn't dare to drug a palace banquet. Lord Lin felt his scalp go numb from Shisheng's stare. He quickly explained, Prime Minister, we don't have the guts to drug Priest Ling Yu. Then you know who it is? Shisheng's lips lifted. How would I know? Official Lin averted his gaze, not daring to look at Shisheng. Bang. Ouch. No one saw how Shisheng did it. By the time they saw or heard the sound, Official Lin was already lying on the ground, wailing in pain. Shisheng stepped on her chest. She was holding an iron sword in her hand at some point. She had a smile on her face, but that smile looked like a demon from hell to them. Eerie. It was filled with malice. The group of people hurriedly knelt on the ground. Prime Minister, please understand. We really don't know. Junliu, how dare you beat up an official of the imperial court for no reason? You're too arrogant. Do you have any respect for His Majesty? Official Lin was fuming from being stepped on. Don't talk nonsense with me. I'll give you one last chance. Who drugged me? Your Majesty, Junliu wants to kill someone. Save me. Official Lin suddenly screamed at the top of his lungs. Shisheng exerted more force on his foot, silencing Official Lin's cries. You won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Shisheng grinned, then stabbed the iron sword in his hand into Official Lin's chest. Prime Minister. Uffed. When the others saw that Shisheng really did stab Official Lin, their faces turned pale. Someone was going to die. Had the Prime Minister gone mad? Official Lin fainted from the pain. Shisheng calmly pulled out the iron sword. The blade was stained with fresh blood, which dripped onto Official Lin's chest. Shisheng looked at the others. Those who were being looked at were all shivering. Even the ministers on her side were dumbfounded. Had the Prime Minister gone mad? If she stabbed Official Lin here, how were they going to explain it to the Empress later? The group of people secretly exchanged glances, thinking of how to cover up Shisheng's lies. Oh my, with how much blood Official Lin was bleeding, would he die? How were they going to make up a story if he died? Why hadn't the Prime Minister told them in advance that she was coming? They could have made preparations. Speaking of which, their Prime Minister had never come to court, nor did she interact with them. I'll talk. It was Lord He who drugged him. One of the officials couldn't stand being stared at any longer. Lord He. Shisheng's tone was calm, making it impossible to decipher the meaning behind his words. Lord Qian, what do you mean by that? When did you see me drugging him? A slightly plump woman kneeling at the back looked up and glared angrily at Lord Qian. Prime Minister, please investigate. Qian Lin is framing me. Qian Lin was a coward. After being yelled at by Lord He, her aura weakened even further. I was standing beside you at the time. I saw you drugging him with my own eyes. Qian Lin, I have no grudge against you. Why are you slandering me? Lord He looked even more furious. That's enough. Shisheng spat out 2 words. Who poured that glass of wine? One of the officials raised her hand. She was the one who poured the wine. Shisheng asked her to step forward and asked her questions one by one. Soon 5 or 6 people were picked out. One of them was even one of his own people. Prime Minister, I swear on my integrity that I didn't drug him. Shisheng glanced at her and searched his memory for this person's information. She was a loyal supporter of the Prime Minister's party. This person was from a side branch of the Jun family, so she wouldn't dare to lie. Shisheng didn't say anything, but moved away from that person. The others followed her example and swore. Everyone said that they didn't drug him. That's interesting. So the drug fell into the wine cup on its own? Shisheng sneered. If you can't remember, you'll all be punished. They all looked at each other. The slightly plump Lord He suddenly spoke up. Prime Minister, there was someone else who touched the wine cup. Who? The Crown Princess. Lord He lowered his voice. The Crown Princess had just left with the Empress, so she wasn't in the hall. Shisheng looked over coldly. Lord He's expression was sincere. They all saw it. The Crown Princess wanted to help Priest Ling Yu drink it, but Lord Lin snatched it back. I can testify. I can also testify. The Crown Princess touched the wine cup. At the time, everyone in the inner circle said that the Crown Princess touched the wine cup. It seemed that only the crown princess would dare to drug someone at a palace banquet. Not to mention that the crown princess was a perverted ancestor. How could she let go of a peerless beauty like Lingyu? Asterisk votes, votes, votes. Double the monthly votes. Little fairy. How dare they drug the little priest? They must be tired of living. Shisheng, go chop them up. Shisheng, my hands are sore. Little fairy. Chapter 315. Shisheng reprimanded everyone who had been disrespectful to Lingyu last night. Compared to the unconscious official Lin lying on the ground, this punishment was already considered light. Once Shisheng's anger had subsided, he dragged the iron sword out of the hall. The group of people who had survived the disaster sat on the ground, panting. Official Lin lay bleeding not too far away. They then called for an imperial physician. The Prime Minister's faction even threatened and bribed them to deal with the aftermath, not allowing them to speak of what had just happened. Shisheng didn't immediately make trouble for the crown princess. Instead, he left the palace. Attacking the crown princess in the imperial palace with great fanfare was definitely unrealistic. After all, she was the next heir chosen by the empress. If you were to behead her, wouldn't you be giving the empress an opportunity to eradicate the Jun family? Shisheng returned to the prime minister's residence. Dai Yu and Yingyu's hearts skipped a beat when they saw the bloody iron sword in Shisheng's hand. Who did His Excellency attack? Instruct the Jun family to be careful. I won't bail them out if they're imprisoned, Shisheng casually ordered. The two Yu felt even more uneasy. His Excellency had only gone to attend morning court. What did he do? The two Yu quickly found out the truth. But they didn't want to know the truth. You actually attacked someone in the Empress's throne room? Are you giving the Empress an excuse to kill you? His Excellency, please don't be so willful, all right? Consider us, the people who will deal with the aftermath. Shisheng went straight to his study after giving his orders. He didn't come out for a long time. Knock knock. Someone knocked twice on the study door. Your Excellency, the Empress sent someone to ask if Daoist Lingyu is in the residence. How do you want to reply? Shisheng looked up from a pile of paper. Answer truthfully. There was a moment of silence. Yes. The Empress had sent someone to the Prince of Ning's residence and learned that he was ill. Daoist Lingyu had left with the Prime Minister last night. The Empress was so angry that she was about to have a heart attack. What was all this about? Only then did the Empress send someone to the Prime Minister's residence to demand for Lingyu. The Shisheng admitted that Lingyu was in the residence, but refused to hand him over no matter what. Seeing that the Heavens ritual was getting closer and closer, the Empress was on the verge of sending troops to surround the Prime Minister's residence. This Junlio is about to cover the sky with a single hand. Is she trying to rebel? The Empress was so angry that she slammed the table, her eyes filled with an ominous glint. The Jun family's power has been growing in recent years. Your Majesty, you can't back down anymore. The one who spoke was a man dressed in palace attire. He stood beside the Empress with his head lowered. We don't want to back down either. The Empress seemed to have aged several years in an instant. She sighed and said, the people that the Jun family has nurtured are practically in control of the entire imperial court. Those that we've secretly gotten rid of are all small fries and not the core of the Jun family at all. Junlio has probably noticed it, so she's begun to retaliate recently. Even as the Empress, she didn't know how much power the Jun family had. She had been wary of the Jun family ever since her mother's generation. She had secretly removed the Jun family's fangs and claws. However, the Jun family still stood strong even after so many years of her succession. The Jun family was like a towering tree with countless branches. Those that she removed were like the leaves on the tree, completely unremarkable. The only thing she was thankful for was that Junlio was the only direct descendant of the Jun family in this generation. And Junlio still didn't have any children. Your Majesty, this servant has a plan. The Empress looked at the man. The man walked up with a smile and massaged the Empress's shoulders. He leaned over slightly and whispered into her ear. Didn't Your Majesty's people say that she cares a lot about that Daoist Lingyu? Nonsense. The Empress's expression darkened. Daoist Lingyu is from Mt1 Yuan. Your Majesty, do you really believe that a Taoist from Mt Wanyuan has the ability to reach the heavens? If he's really that powerful, why has Mt Wanyuan been declining year after year? The Empress fell silent. The Empress's people invited Ling Yu over every day. Their attitude was extremely good, and they did their best to avoid conflict with Shisheng's people. Shisheng hadn't seen Ling Yu since that day, so he was trying to figure out how to confirm Ling Yu's identity. However, Ling Yu felt awkward and intentionally avoided him. Your Excellency, the Heavens ritual is in 5 days. Are we really not going to send Taoist Ling Yu back? Yu looked at Shisheng, who was scribbling something. Your Excellency's handwriting. We won't. Shisheng didn't even bat an eyelid. Yu hesitated. But this concerns the autumn harvest. Shisheng put down his brush. Do you really believe that he can protect the autumn harvest? Your Excellency, this isn't a matter of whether you believe it or not. Yu's expression turned serious. If this year's harvest really isn't good, the commoners will blame it on you because you're holding Taoist Ling Yu hostage. The commoners didn't care about the truth of the matter. In a situation where they didn't have enough to eat or warm clothes to wear, they needed someone to vent their anger on and relieve the resentment in their hearts. Shisheng slammed his brush down. Go and bring back that little Taoist from Mt Wanyuan. What does it have to do with that little Taoist? Just do as I say. Yu opened and closed her mouth, but in the end, she left with a head full of confusion. Her Excellency is becoming more and more undisciplined. However, the people Yu sent returned on the same day, saying that there was no one on Mt Wanyuan. There were even signs of a fight in one of the rooms. Yu reported this to Shisheng, who stared at her for a full 3 seconds. Yu couldn't help but rub her face and head. Is there something strange about me today? Is there anything strange about Ling Yu? No, everything is normal. What does the disappearance of the little Taoist have to do with Ling Yu? Shisheng propped up his chin, his expression indescribably mocking. Take a guess if Ling Yu will come to me for help. Yu was speechless. I don't understand what Your Excellency is saying at all. My brain is already wired differently from Your Excellency's. Shisheng looked at Yu in exasperation. Pay attention to Ling Yu's movements. You may leave. As expected, I was born smart. Sigh, it's lonely at the top. I really am lonely. Host, can you be a little more shameless? You clearly came up with this conclusion based on the plot of a novel, yet you insist on using your own intelligence. Hashtag why is my host becoming more and more shameless? Hashtag host always thinks she's invincible. Hashtag the next afternoon, the Empress's people came again. This time, Ling Yu actually met with them. It was unknown what they talked about, but Ling Yu finally agreed to preside over the Heavens ritual. After bidding farewell to Ling Yu, he left with the palace's people. Yu and Shisheng stood in the shadows, watching as Ling Yu was escorted into a carriage. Once the carriage set off, Yu couldn't help but ask, Your Excellency, did you mean yesterday that the Empress's people kidnapped the little Taoist to threaten Taoist Ling Yu? Looks like there's still hope for you. Shisheng patted Yu's shoulder, his expression gratified. Yu was speechless. Just how bad am I in Your Excellency's heart? Have the palace's people protect him. I don't wish for what happened last time to happen a second time. Yu was speechless. Your Excellency, if you care so much, why do you want Sir Ling Yu to go? Can't they just rescue him? Yu stopped complaining and said seriously, Ahem, now that we have a lead, Your Excellency, it's time for us to rescue him. Asterisk little fairy, Happy National Day monthly votes, recommendation votes, I don't mind at all. Chapter 316. The young Taoist was locked up in a dark place. It was very humid, and the squeaking of rats and the sound of dogs running past him constantly tortured his nerves. He curled up in a corner, his body trembling slightly. Why hadn't his senior brother come to save him? He was supposed to be sleeping in the Taoist temple, but when he woke up, he was in this place. His eyes were covered and he couldn't see anything, but he heard people talking. How is he? Pretty good. He hasn't eaten for a day. I brought him some food. He can't starve. Creak. Gusu tried his best to curl up. He heard footsteps approaching him. Then he felt someone grab his wrist with great strength. With a tug he stood up. This young master looks quite tender. A slightly rough hand pinched his face. Gusu retreated in shock and trembled. Who are you? Why did you capture me? However, he was quickly pulled into someone's arms and his mouth was gagged. Senior brother, save me. This isn't good. The higher-ups ordered that not a single strand of hair should be missing. Someone advised hesitantly. What are you afraid of? Be careful not to leave any traces. Who knows? Close the door. I don't believe you don't want to. After waiting for a while, Gusu heard the door close. The creaking sound tugged at his taut nerves. Gusu felt someone rudely tugging at his clothes, and a rough hand moving around his body. No, Gusu desperately shook his head. The gag was removed from his mouth. Just as he was about to scream, his mouth was quickly gagged again. A tongue roughly squeezed in. It smelled bad. Sir, it's here. Dayu pointed to a courtyard in front. Shisheng swung the iron sword in his hand. Go in. Dayu reminded him tactfully. Sir, don't you need to hide? What's there to hide? So what if they saw? She wasn't afraid of them. Dayu saw that Shisheng was almost at the door, and hurriedly ordered the people behind him to follow. There were not many people in the courtyard, so Dayu and the others quickly dealt with them. From them, they learned that Gusu was locked up in the basement of the courtyard. Shisheng led his men down the stairs. In the dark space, they could hear a woman's lewd laughter and a young man's whimper. Bang! Shisheng kicked open the only door in the basement. He could see everything inside. Two valiant women pressed a naked young man to the ground and started groping him. One of the women had even taken off her pants. Suddenly, they heard the sound of the door being kicked open. Both of them looked towards the door at the same time. Who's there? Beast. Dayu saw the scene inside and felt a burst of anger. He's still a child. Kill him. Shisheng looked at the two of them calmly. Dayu took the lead and mercilessly dealt with the two women. Gusu curled up his body and tried his best to cover his body. He felt a piece of clothing fall on him, blocking his body. Dayu looked at the Shisheng, not knowing what to do. Sir, why are you looking at me? Carry him. Do you want me to carry him? Shisheng's expression said. My hands are so noble that they can reach the heavens. You actually want me to carry him? Are you retarded? Oh. Dayu hurriedly wrapped Gusu in her clothes and carried him horizontally. She reached out to remove the black cloth from his eyes, and comforted him softly. It's all right. Our sir is here to save you. After being in the dark for a long time, Gusu's eyes were suddenly pierced by light. It took him a while to adjust, but his body was still trembling. The first thing he saw was the person holding him. Her heroic face was full of heartache, and she was gently patting his back. A woman stood not far from him. She was only wearing an inner garment, the color of which was the same as his jacket. He remembered her. The woman who took his senior brother away. Let's go. Shisheng turned and walked out. Dayu hurriedly followed. When they were out of the courtyard, Shisheng ordered without a change in expression, set him on fire. Shisheng threw Gusu to Dayu and went into the palace alone. Dayu brought Gusu back to the prime minister's residence. Two men helped him wash up and change into clean clothes. Gusu's tense nerves slowly relaxed, probably because he sensed that Dayu had no ill intentions. Where's my senior brother? Gusu grabbed Dayu's sleeve. I want to see him. Your senior brother is in the palace. Dayu tugged at her sleeve, but it didn't budge. Sir won't let anything happen to your senior brother. Don't worry. I want to see my senior brother. Gusu stubbornly repeated this sentence. Dayu tugged at her sleeve with a headache. If she cut off her sleeve, would this little guy cry? If Sir found out that she made him cry, would she come back and settle the score with her? After much consideration, Dayu finally allowed him to tug at her sleeve. Only when he grew tired of asking and fell asleep did Dayu free her sleeve. Before she stepped out of the door, she saw Inyu looking inside. Why aren't you with Sir? Dayu closed the door behind her. Inyu smiled mischievously. Sir said not to let me follow, so I'm guessing Sir Lingyu secretly went to see him. What do you mean secretly? Does Sir need to secretly meet someone? Dai frowned. Yu quickly nodded, her eyes sparkling with admiration. Yes, yes, yes. Our Sir is invincible. This time, Sir must have really taken a fancy to Sir Yu. Whoever Sir fancies is that person's fortune. Dai said matter-of-factly. Have you contacted the others? Sir has been acting more and more unscrupulously lately, so we should prepare in advance. If the Empress will have Sir rebel. No problem. Yu gave Dai a reassuring look. If Sir really wanted to rebel, it wouldn't be that difficult. It would just be a bad reputation. But there were plenty of people like that in history. The winner takes all, so why should she care about a little bit of reputation? Sheng put on the airs of the Prime Minister and entered Ling Yu's residence without any hindrance. The Empress had arranged for Ling Yu to stay in a relatively quiet palace. When Sheng arrived, he happened to see the Crown Princess coming out. Fuck. This woman still dares to provoke Ling Yu? The Crown Princess was alone, so she had probably snuck in. Sheng followed the Crown Princess to a secluded area and beat her up while covering her in a gunny sack. Don't ask her where the gunny sack came from. She had a dozen of these in her space. After beating the Crown Princess until she stopped moving, she dragged the gunny sack to Ling Yu's palace. In order to prevent anyone from seeing her bring the Crown Princess to Ling Yu's place in a gunny sack, she even climbed in from the back. Thump. A heavy object fell to the ground with a dull thud. Ling Yu heard the commotion and couldn't help but come over to check. What he saw was Sheng jumping in through the window with a bulging gunny sack on the ground. This was the first time the two of them had met since that day. This strange way of meeting made Ling Yu forget about the awkwardness between them. Sheng draws sword. Where are your tickets? Chapter 317. Is there anyone outside? Sheng asked him in an extremely natural manner. Ling Yu reflexively shook his head. Sheng immediately dashed out to close the door, then returned to drag the gunny sack inside. Ling Yu was speechless. Just what was she doing here? Did someone bully you? Sheng asked Ling Yu as he untied the gunny sack. No. From the moment he entered the palace, he had sensed that someone was secretly protecting him. Those people were very well hidden. If not for his martial arts, he wouldn't have noticed them. These people definitely weren't sent by the Empress. The only person he could think of was the Prime Minister. Thank you. You're suddenly so polite. I'm not used to it, Sheng muttered. She untied the gunny sack in her hands, revealing its contents. When Ling Yu saw the contents of the gunny sack, he didn't know how to react. In the end, he could only remain expressionless. She actually put the Crown Princess in a gunny sack, and even brought her here. Her guts were heaven-defying. Sheng tied the Crown Princess up with a rope, then stuffed her mouth shut. Swish! A cold gleaming iron sword appeared out of thin air, its blade propping up the Crown Princess' chin. Ling Yu was speechless. Weapons aren't allowed in the palace. Where did she hide that sword? She's the one who drugged you last time. How do you want to deal with her? Kill her or what? Tell me and I'll do it. What did you say? Ling Yu looked at Sheng in surprise. How do you want her to die? Sheng patiently repeated. Ling Yu shook his head. No, the first sentence. Sheng frowned. She drugged you. Drugged me. If I hadn't met her that night, would I have ended up like those men who rebelled? Would I have been killed after being defiled by them? Killing intent suddenly erupted from Ling Yu's body, startling Sheng. A smile appeared on her face. This was what her feng shui should be like. Will I bring you any trouble if I kill her? Ling Yu looked at Sheng and asked. She's just a crown princess. Sheng's tone was relaxed. He didn't take her seriously at all. Ling Yu walked towards the Sheng, his clear eyes filled with killing intent. Can you lend me your sword? His soft sword was confiscated when he entered the palace. If you dirty your hands, I'll do it. Ling Yu felt like his heart had been dealt a heavy blow. When there was someone who was willing to stain their hands with blood for you, it was the most beautiful words of love in the world that needed no words. Suppressing the strange emotions in his heart, Ling Yu insisted, I want to do it myself. Sheng glanced at him and handed him the iron sword. Have you killed anyone before? Yes, he said when he was very young. Ling Yu accepted the iron sword. It was very light, almost weightless in his hands. He looked at the iron sword in her hand and thought that it would be very heavy. He didn't expect it to be so light. Ling Yu approached the crown princess with his sword. Perhaps sensing his killing intent, the unconscious crown princess woke up. Ling Yu used his sword to remove the cloth from the crown princess' mouth. "You drugged me, Ling Yu?" When the crown princess saw the person in front of her, her eyes immediately lit up. As she moved, the pain on her face and body woke her up from her daze. "Ling Yu, you actually attacked me." "Hey, Your Highness, don't accuse me wrongly. I was the one who attacked you." Shisheng poked his head out from behind Ling Yu and admitted to it. He took the blame for himself. "Junliu," the crown princess shrieked. "What are you trying to do, rebel? Ling Yu, are you on her side? Let go of me. What are you thinking? You drugged me." Ling Yu ignored the crown princess shrieks. Since she dared to bring her here, it meant that she had a way to deal with the people outside. "Let go of me. I'm the crown princess. What do you mean by drugged? I don't know." "Ling Yu, let go of me. I'll give you anything you want. Let go of me, all right? I'll marry you and make you the empress. When I ascend the throne, you'll be the empress. You still want to ascend the throne? Dream on," Shisheng replied darkly. Did she really think that the female lead transmigrated here to be a rice worm? They also had great ambitions and ambitions, okay? The crown princess glared at her. "Junliu, what exactly are you trying to do?" "All I did was beat you up and tie you up." "Just beat you up and tie you up?" The crown princess was so angry that her chest heaved up and down, her face ashen. "Were you the one who drugged me at the palace banquet?" Ling Yu asked again. The crown princess' eyes swiveled as if she'd thought of something. She hurriedly said, "Did the Ning princess do something to you? As long as you let me go, I'll definitely avenge you. I won't fuss over what happened in the past. You'll still be the future empress." Shisheng was speechless. Is there something wrong with this child? The crown princess' words were undoubtedly an indirect admission. Ling Yu's eyes drooped. He gripped his iron sword tightly and raised his hand. His sleeves fluttered elegantly in the air, and the iron sword accurately pierced the crown princess' chest. "Ugh." The crown princess' voice came to an abrupt halt, her eyes filled with disbelief. She'd only drugged him. He'd actually killed her. Even when she closed her eyes, she still couldn't figure out where she'd gone wrong. In this world, just because you didn't succeed in something didn't mean that you hadn't done it. Since you'd done it, you had to bear the consequences no matter what. This was the rule. Shisheng stepped forward and took the iron sword from Ling Yu's hands. "The little Taoist is fine now. You don't need to be controlled by them. Come with me." Ling Yu slowly raised his head to look at her. The killing intent in his clear eyes receded, and an indescribable emotion slowly rose within him. "She knows everything." Ling Yu averted his gaze and calmly said, "They want the heaven's sacrifice. How can I disappoint them?" After a pause, Ling Yu asked, "Is Gusu all right?" "I don't know. Who was in the mood to care about that brat? She'd only saved him out of respect for Ling Yu. Please take care of him for a few days." Ling Yu's attitude became somewhat pleading. Shisheng glanced at him. She didn't know what nerve he had touched, but she harumphed loudly. "Ling Yu." Ling Yu refused to leave, so Shisheng could only take the crown princess' corpse and leave the palace. After dumping the corpse, he leisurely returned to the prime minister's residence. As soon as he stepped into the residence, Dayu came looking for him as if she'd been installed with a tracking device. "Your Excellency, that little Taoist wants to see Master Ling Yu. I can't persuade him no matter what." "Just feed him some medicine and let him sleep," Shisheng said matter-of-factly. "You have to trouble me over such a small matter? What's the point of raising you? It's not nice to be a vase. Your Excellency. You're abusing a child." Shisheng recalled Ling Yu's words and waved his hand in annoyance. "Take me to him." Gu Su had fallen asleep earlier, but he started making a fuss when he woke up. Dai Yu and Ying Yu were helpless against him. "I want to see senior brother." Following this shout, a figure rushed out of the room and collided head-on with Dai Yu. who was walking in front of him. Yu reached out to support him, preventing him from crashing to the ground. I want to see senior brother. Let me see senior brother. Gusu struggled to run outside. How could Yu dare to let him go? Her Excellency was standing in front of her. Thank you to the cherub for your donations. Happy National Day. Please vote. Gusu, I want to see senior brother. My body and mind belong to senior brother. Shisheng, you want to steal my man? Gusu. Senior brother, save me. Someone's abusing a child. Chapter 318. Shisheng's expression changed again, and again as he looked at the brat Gusu. I want to see senior brother. Gusu scratched with his hands and feet, and even bit with his mouth. Your Excellency. Yu looked pleadingly at Shisheng. Shisheng picked him up and threw him into the room, closing the door before Gusu could get up. Lock him up. Shisheng ordered Yu. Your Excellency, will Sir Lingyu flip out if he finds out? It's not even as good as your suggestion to force medicine down his throat. Gusu slammed the door loudly from inside the room. Shisheng's expression didn't change as he pounded on the door even harder. If you want to see your senior brother, wait here quietly. Otherwise, don't even think about seeing him again. Yu. Sir Lingyu will definitely flip out. This is his junior brother, his only junior brother. Although Yu didn't want to admit it, the people inside had quieted down significantly. This proved that intimidation was very effective. On the day of the Heavens Ritual, the Heavens Ritual was held on the altar outside the palace. Not only were the Empress officials present, but the common people were also there to watch. For such an important occasion, safety was of utmost importance. The altar was surrounded by 3 layers of guards. Jiangji stood among the group of princes and princesses, keeping a low profile. The group discussed the crown princess's disappearance in low voices. Listening to their discussion, Jiangji felt uneasy. The people in the crown princess's palace said she's gone missing. I think she went out to play again. Even Daoist Lingyu is here. Why would she leave the palace? In the past, the crown princess had used many methods to leave the palace, and this disappearance was one of them. So when they heard that the crown princess had gone missing, their first reaction was that she had run out of the palace again. She's just a little popular. Who knows if she's taken a fancy to someone outside? She even dares to skip the Heavens Ritual. Let's see how she explains herself to the Empress this time. Your Excellency Prime Minister. Your Excellency Prime Minister. Greetings came one after another from afar. Jiangji looked up and saw a woman surrounded by people walking over. She couldn't help but recall the scene of that night, and her face turned pale. Ever since she'd arrived in this world, that was the first time she'd been so close to death. In modern times, she was just a white-collar worker. How determined could she be? It was only then that she realized that human lives were not worth much in the world she lived in. Even if she was a prince. The Shisheng ignored the group of princes and princesses, and stood in his place. Jun Liu is becoming more and more arrogant. I don't know what Imperial Mother is thinking, but she's still keeping her around. Shu, do you want to die? Do you think the Jun family is so easy to deal with? Jiangji listened to the people around her discussing in hushed voices, and her face turned even paler. How much power did a clan need to have to be above the imperial power? How could a modern person like her lose to an ancient person? Evil would never prevail over good. Jun Liu would fall sooner or later. Shisheng didn't know what Jiangji was thinking. She just stared at the altar in boredom. When the Empress and Lingyu arrived, the Heavens Ritual officially began. The commoners were all kneeling on the ground, not daring to raise their heads to look at the altar. The officials bowed to show their respect. Only Shisheng raised his head and stared at the person on the altar without the slightest scruple. Lingyu was wearing a custom-made Taoist robe that was much brighter in color than his own, making him look even more attractive. The steps of the Heavens Ritual were pretty much the same, but the more Shisheng watched, the stranger he felt. At some point, a gust of wind began to blow around them. First, it was a gentle breeze, then a fierce gale. The scarves on the altar flapped loudly in the wind. The sky that was still clear a moment ago was now slowly becoming gloomy and covered by dark clouds. What's going on? I've never seen anything like this in the heavens ritual. What's going on? The people around them no longer cared about etiquette. They all looked up at the sky or the altar. Ling Yu's figure was almost completely obscured by the fluttering scarves. They could only vaguely make out his movements. But soon, the wind stopped blowing. Sunlight penetrated the dark clouds and poured down, and the scarves on the altar stopped fluttering. Everything that had just happened seemed like an illusion. Shisheng frowned as he looked at the person on the altar. He had actually sensed spiritual energy just now. It had been mixed in with the fierce wind, and disappeared as soon as the wind stopped blowing. And that spiritual energy even carried a familiar aura. Shisheng's gaze towards Ling Yu couldn't help but waver a little. Ling Yu had already completed the final step. He walked down the altar and said to the Empress in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "The heavens ritual has failed." The Empress shot to her feet, her expression agitated. How could it have failed? Nothing like that had just happened had ever happened before. And it had never failed before. Ling Yu recited a sentence in one breath, his choice of words very awkward. The gist of it was that the heavens did not accept the heavens ritual, because the members of the imperial family were lacking in virtue. Ling Yu's voice wasn't soft. Not only did the officials hear him, but even the commoners heard him. Because the members of the imperial family were lacking in virtue, the heavens did not accept the heavens ritual. If the autumn harvest wasn't good, it would be the imperial family's fault. The commoners below were already discussing this in hushed voices. That strange gust of wind just now made it easy for them to believe Ling Yu's words. As a result, the commoners began to look at the Empress and the members of the imperial family strangely. These commoners had all heard of how the crown princess had kidnapped commoners' men, and how the other princesses had abused their power to bully others. Farewell. Ling Yu bowed to the Empress, then turned around and walked down the altar. "Stop him!" the Empress shouted. The people standing around the altar immediately drew their swords and pointed them at Ling Yu. The Empress lowered her voice, her tone full of threat and warning. "Priest Ling Yu, regardless of whether what you said just now was true or not, go and perform the heavens ritual again. You are not allowed to fail." Ling Yu's expression didn't change, and he didn't move at all. "Priest Ling Yu, don't forget that we still have your junior brother." Ling Yu frowned slightly. He believed that the Shisheng wouldn't lie to him. However, he also found it strange that he would so easily trust someone. "Your Majesty, you should refrain from doing such things in the future. Otherwise, you'll be punished by the heavens." The Empress' sharp gaze swept over Ling Yu. He knew that the little priest had been rescued. "Ling Yu, don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." "Your Majesty, it's useless even if you detain the little priest. He's just a human, and he doesn't have the ability to change the will of the heavens." The Shisheng had appeared at the bottom of the altar at some point, and he smiled lightly at Ling Yu. "Come down." The people standing in front of the Shisheng hesitantly lowered their swords when the Empress glared at them. Her smile was somewhat dazzling. He didn't know if it was just his imagination, but he felt like her gaze towards him was more sincere than before. Ling Yu's eyes flickered, and he walked down the stairs to the Shisheng's side. "Beloved official Jun, what are you doing?" The Empress gestured to the people next to her. The people standing behind the Empress immediately went on guard. The air seemed to freeze in that instant. Asterisk pleading for votes. This article was first published on Rising Clouds Academy, QQ Reading. This is the original. You can read it on your phone's QQ account. If you support Baobao, please go to QQ Reading. I can only reply to reviews on QQ Reading. Other apps won't work. Chapter 319. Shisheng tried to grab Ling Yu's hand, but Ling Yu merely flinched and didn't struggle free. Shisheng immediately took advantage of the situation and grabbed his entire hand. Her hand was soft and warm. It was just like how he had hugged a heater on a snowy night many years ago. Warmth seeped into his heart. Shisheng turned to look at the Empress with an arrogant expression. "Your Majesty is overthinking things. If I wanted to rebel, you would have stepped down long ago. Lingyu is my man. Whoever dares to touch a single strand of his hair will pay with their lives. Lingyu's heart trembled as intense pain spread from his heart. Was this heartache? Why would he feel this way? Junliu, you're impudent. The Empress roared in exasperation. Shisheng smirked, making no effort to hide the malice in his eyes. The best way to secure your throne is to not provoke me. The Prime Minister's faction was speechless. Were they rebelling or not? Prime Minister, could you please give us a heads up when you're about to put on a show? They won't be able to guess what you're up to. You. The Empress pointed at Shisheng, her finger trembling. Unable to come up with anything, she clutched her chest and collapsed. Kill her. Kill this traitor for us. The Empress panted heavily, her eyes bloodshot. The people behind the Empress immediately surrounded Shisheng. Seeing this, the commoners didn't dare to stay any longer. They screamed and scattered. The Empress faction immediately ran to her side, seeking protection. The Prime Minister's faction stood in place. Daiyu and Yingyu, who had been standing in the distance, ran over to Shisheng as soon as the commoners scattered. Your Majesty, protect him, Shisheng said as he pushed Lingyu to the back. With a flick of his wrist, the iron sword appeared in his hand. The iron sword that appeared out of nowhere shocked everyone present. It was such a long iron sword, and it didn't look like a flexible sword. Where did she put it? Shisheng took advantage of the surprise to charge forward, his iron sword glinting coldly. Blood splattered everywhere as he swung his sword. Lingyu frowned as he watched Shisheng move through the crowd, reaping lives like a god of death. When he fought with her, her movements were still not smooth and seemed stiff and unfamiliar. But today, her moves didn't seem stiff at all. Instead, they were smooth and gorgeous. She must be extremely talented to be able to use the sword so fluently in such a short period of time. Either that or she had purposely given in to him that day. Compared to the former, who was a once-in-a-century genius, he was more willing to believe in the latter. Lingyu looked a little confused. Why did he think that she would go easy on him? While Lingyu was distracted, Shisheng had already dealt with everyone. She stood in the middle of a pile of corpses, blood flowing slowly under her feet. The wind suddenly blew, and the smell of blood spread far and wide. They heard the Prime Minister's voice ring out like a horn from hell. Who else wants to get an autograph from the King of Hell? Even though he didn't understand what the Prime Minister was talking about, the words King of Hell definitely didn't mean anything good. Apart from the Prime Minister's faction, all the officials shrank back. Although the Prime Minister had a bad temper in the past, she didn't like to talk. Now, it was obvious that her temper had escalated to the point where she would directly resort to violence. It was better for them to remain in the background quietly. Even if the sky collapsed, there were still tall people to hold it up. Jiangji, who was standing in the crowd, had a stiff expression. As a modern white-collar worker, how could she not understand what Shisheng was talking about? She was also, Your Majesty, Your Majesty. A sharp cry interrupted Jiangji's thoughts. She turned around and saw that the Empress was being supported by several people. Her head drooped as she fainted. Shisheng flung the blood off his iron sword and walked back to Lingyu's side. Let's go back. The two youths. Weren't they going to rebel? She had already sent people back to call for reinforcements. What a great opportunity to rebel. Sir, you can't let it go. Shisheng pointed at his own face. Do I really look like a traitor to you? This was the face of an Adonis, after all. He was unbelievably handsome, wasn't he? Why do you all want me to rebel so badly? Who's going to take care of things after I rebel? The two youths. Aren't you just doing exactly what a traitor would do? Yingyu's brain worked faster than Daiyu's and she immediately flattered. Sir, how could you be a traitor? You're our wise and mighty Prime Minister. Shisheng glanced at Yingyu. Don't you think it's better to act pretentious like this? Yingyu. She felt like her flattery had been for nothing. No, sir. What do you mean by acting pretentious? Sir, are we really not rebelling? Go ahead. Once you're done, you can be the Empress. Shisheng waved his hand at Yingyu. Yingyu. Daiyu patted Yingyu's shoulder sympathetically. Can't you tell? Sir is only interested in Sir Lingyu now. And how long has it been since Sir last took care of things? Regardless of whether it was a big or small matter, she always had a strange expression that said, "I didn't raise you all to be decorative vases. Don't bother me no matter how big or small it is." Then is Sir going to rebel or not? Ingyu was conflicted. What a pity to miss today's opportunity. I reckon. Dayu rubbed her chin. As long as the Empress subordinates don't provoke Sir, she won't rebel. Oh, how do you know? Why didn't she see Sir's intentions? Eat more to nourish your brain. Dayu imitated Shisheng and patted Ingyu's shoulder earnestly. Ingyu. Ha ha ha, actually it was Sir who told me. Who could guess Sir's thoughts right now? Good, you actually dared to trick me. Dayu, don't run. The heavenly ritual failed, and the Empress wanted to make things difficult for the Empress. The Prime Minister flew into a rage for Lan Yan's sake, and displayed her might during the heavenly ritual, drawing her sword and clashing with the Empress. Various versions of the rumor circulated among the common people like fanfiction, becoming the talk of the town. Whether or not the Prime Minister would rebel became the focus of everyone's speculation. If the Prime Minister had rebelled during the heavenly ritual, there was a 90% chance she would have succeeded. But she hadn't. Now the Empress was still lying on her bed. Your Majesty, it's time to drink your medicine. The man in court robes held a bowl of medicine. The Empress raised her hand and knocked the bowl over. What medicine? That slut Junlio is already climbing over my head. She was so arrogant and unbridled that she even dared to kill people right in front of her. Also, when did her martial arts become so good? The black concoction spilled all over the man in court robes. He caressed it carelessly and comforted her in a soft voice. Your Majesty, no matter how angry you are, you still have to think about your own health. Only by taking care of your body can you deal with her better. The Empress looked at the face in front of her, and her anger subsided a little. She reached out and grabbed his hand. You're still the most considerate. The man in court robes chuckled. This servant will serve your Majesty the medicine. The servants brought over another bowl of medicine. This time, the Empress didn't throw a tantrum and finished it in the man's hands. After drinking the medicine, the two of them rolled together for some reason. They didn't even try to avoid the servants standing to the side. The others didn't seem to find this strange. They all lowered their heads and pretended not to see. Cherub. Xiaosheng, your mother is telling you to go home and rebel. Shisheng. My hands are sore. Little fairy. Your hands are sore for several chapters. Shisheng, retard. Chapter 320. The Prime Minister's Estate. The young Taoist, Gu Su, was in Lingyu's arms, sobbing so hard that he couldn't catch his breath. He even complained. Shisheng stood by the door, his iron sword clanging against the floor. Shisheng felt like something had been stolen from him. He really wanted to chop that brat up. The two Yu exchanged glances. Their lord's aura was really scary. In the end, Shisheng couldn't take it anymore. He walked over, grabbed Gu Su's collar, and pulled him out of Lingyu's arms. Senior brother. Senior brother. Gu Su grabbed Lingyu's hand, his face like a crying kitten. Let go of me, I want senior brother. Who allowed you to want him? Shisheng said darkly, pointing his sword at Gu Su's hand. Let go. I won't, senior brother. Senior brother, save me. Prime Minister. Lingyu grabbed Gu Su's hand. He's still young. 13 or 14 years old is old enough to serve others. How is he young? Let go. Shisheng's iron sword was already on Gu Su's wrist. One last chance, or I'll chop off your hand. Wu, don't. Senior brother. Prime Minister. Dayu and Ingyu stood outside, watching the scene unfold. They couldn't bear to watch. They couldn't imagine their wise and mighty Prime Minister threatening a child. Dayu suddenly felt something heavy in her arms. She reflexively caught him, only to see a dirty little face with red eyes from crying. Don't let me see him. Bang. Dayu looked at the door being slammed shut, then at the person in her arms. Her mouth twitched. My lord, aren't you trying to take his life? When this young Taoist makes a fuss, it's practically a tragedy. Dayu, I still have something to do, so I'll be leaving first. Ingyu winked at Dayu, giggling, then ran out of the estate. Dayu. How careless of her to make friends. Shisheng closed the door, then aggressively walked toward Lingyu. Lingyu was so frightened by his aura that he took a step back. Behind him was the bed. Lingyu's feet hit the foot of the bed, so he sat down on it. Shisheng reached out and bent over to support himself on the bed. Lingyu could only lean back. Prime Minister. It was improper for men and women to touch each other. Shisheng looked straight into his eyes and said word by word. You're not allowed to touch anyone in the future, not even men. This is my freedom, Lingyu said with a stiff expression. He didn't want to admit that he wasn't disgusted at all when she said that. Instead, it was as if he had said countless times that this was how they should be. I'll kill whoever you touch. Go ahead and touch whoever you want to die. Lingyu was speechless. Did I run into a lunatic? Taking a deep breath, he said with an indifferent expression. I agreed to go down the mountain, Prime Minister. Since Prime Minister helped me, we are even. Even? Lingyu's heart skipped a beat. For some reason, he felt like there were countless twists and turns when she said those two words, as if she was able to infer gratitude and hatred from them. Shisheng knelt on the bed, and Lingyu was forced to continue cowering as he furrowed his brows. Even? You're dreaming. Do you really think I'll let go of the fact that you stabbed me? Shisheng slowly climbed up the bed, and Lingyu could only retreat until he was pressed against the wall. There was nowhere else to go. I helped you that night. Do you really think I'll let it go just like that? Lingyu's face instantly heated up, and the tips of his ears turned red. His heart beat like a drum, and the thumping of his heart affected every nerve in his body. He didn't dare to look straight at Shisheng. I'm very sorry about stabbing you, Prime Minister. But you were the one who trespassed on Mt. Wanyuan first. But you were the one who injured me. Shisheng smiled. Assassinating the Prime Minister is a capital offense. Lingyu was speechless. Shisheng's fingertips slowly slid down his collar and landed on his lower abdomen. He smiled meaningfully, clearly harboring evil intentions. Little Taoist, do you want this Prime Minister to help you one more time? Lingyu's body stiffened. He couldn't forget that night even if he wanted to. In fact, occasionally he would even dream of things that shouldn't have happened. How could he have such thoughts? Prime Minister, don't force me. Lingyu's expression suddenly turned cold. Shisheng moved his hand away and quickly kissed him on the lips. All right, I won't tease you anymore. But remember one thing. I'll make you fall in love with me. Before that, you're not allowed to leave the Prime Minister's residence. Lingyu's mind was currently buzzing. She kissed him. She actually kissed him. Shisheng retreated from the bed and straightened his clothes. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat something? You probably didn't eat much in the palace. Lingyu stared blankly at him. Don't worry, I won't drug you. If I wanted to use force, you'd be. Shisheng swept a roguish gaze over him. Lingyu's face was burning hot as he pulled the blanket over himself. How could this woman be so shameless? Puffed. As expected, no matter who her Feng Xi turned into, he couldn't change his shyness. Shisheng was in a good mood as he went outside to order the servants to prepare some food. Even after all the dishes were served, Lingyu was still sitting on the bed with a red face. Do you want me to feed you? Lingyu shook his head. Then why aren't you getting down? Shisheng paused. I'll carry you. With that, he walked over to the bed. Lingyu immediately lifted the blanket and got off the bed. Shisheng looked at him regretfully, then returned to the table. Let's eat. He watched as Shisheng sat down. There were still 2 sets of bowls and chopsticks on the table, but he didn't move. You want to eat here too? Can't I? The entire Prime Minister's residence is mine. It's my freedom to eat wherever I want. Lingyu. He had no reason to refute. He dawdled for a while, but in the end, he still went over. It was true that he hadn't eaten much in the palace. Even the amount of water he drank was very little. Considering that Lingyu was a Taoist priest, Shisheng had the servants prepare vegetarian dishes. Although they couldn't compare to the modern world's chefs, they were still delicious. Lingyu didn't say anything and just picked up his bowl to eat. Shisheng realized that he was actually a picky eater. Out of several dishes, he only ate one. Shisheng. Why do I feel like he's going to be hard to deal with this time? I want to go back to MT1 Yuan. Ling Yu put down his bowl and looked at Shisheng. Shisheng tilted his head and glanced at him. Did you ignore everything I said just now? Ling Yu pursed his lips. I want to go back to MT1 Yuan to get something. Shisheng's tense expression immediately brightened. I'll accompany you back tomorrow. Shisheng asked the servants to take away the dishes before she left. As he was leaving, he asked, Where's your sword? It's in the palace. Ling Yu replied with a frown. He had to go and get it back. Have a good rest. I'll take you back to MT1 Yuan tomorrow. Shisheng nodded. Don't run off, or I'll kill your junior brother. You won't. Ling Yu suddenly replied confidently. Is that so? Then you can try. Shisheng's lips twitched into a fake smile. Shisheng. Everyone who touches you feels like they're stealing. This prime minister agrees with this saying. Little fairy. What's wrong with you? Shisheng. Smiling while drawing sword. Little fairy. Kneeling down with a thud. Great God, I was wrong. Chapter 321. Your Majesty, the Prime Minister is here. The shouts from outside interrupted the deep conversation between the two people on the bed. Your Majesty. The man in the palace robe clung to the Empress, calling out seductively. The Empress felt weak all over. It was said that women in their 30s and 40s were as fierce as tigers. The Empress was at this age, so why would she care about the Prime Minister? Let her wait, the Empress ordered vaguely, then began another round of conversation with the man. Prime Minister, you can't go in. Ouch! Hurry and stop the Prime Minister. There was a sudden commotion outside. If the Empress could continue like this, then she was also a strong person. She angrily put on her clothes and got out of bed. Outside, the Shisheng had also knocked down quite a few people on his way to the inner palace. The moment the Shisheng entered, he caused a wave of screams. The palace was filled with a very strong aphrodisiac, so the moment the Shisheng entered, he saw stars. The people scurrying around looking for places to hide were all men, and they were all dressed very skimpily. As expected, lust was hereditary. Prime Minister. The Empress gritted her teeth and glared at the intruder. We aren't dead yet. Are you trying to force us to abdicate by barging into our chambers? Force your ass. Do I look like such a senseless person to you? Where's Ling Yu's sword? Sword. The Empress' expression became strange at this sudden turn of events. Barging into the palace in the middle of the night just for a sword? The Empress didn't believe it. Prime Minister. Where's the sword? The Shisheng impatiently interrupted the Empress. He felt like he was being an eyesore here. He felt like he was letting his wife down. This was unacceptable. The Empress frowned. Her gaze swept over the iron sword in the Shisheng's hand, and she hurriedly ordered someone to fetch it. The person who fetched the sword trembled as he presented the flexible sword to the Shisheng. The Shisheng confirmed that it was Ling Yu's flexible sword. He didn't even bother to look at the Empress's sword as he turned and left. He left just like that? Did he really leave? Did he really come for the sword? Only after Shisheng disappeared from the hall did the Empress believe that this traitorous Prime Minister of hers had really come for the sake of a sword. The Empress did want to send people to encircle and kill her, but on the day of the Heavens ritual, she had seen her strength with her own eyes. Could these idiots in the palace really kill her? Don't provoke her when the time comes. The gains won't make up for the losses. Shisheng said that he would bring Ling Yu back to MT1 Yuan. The next morning, he really did prepare a carriage and brought Ling Yu out of the city. She only brought Ling Yu with her. The two of them sat in the carriage and stared at each other. After a while, Shisheng took out a soft sword from the side. Here. Ling Yu stared at the sword for a full 3 seconds before accepting it. Was this why she had asked him about the sword yesterday? Aren't you afraid that I'll use this sword to deal with you? She returned the sword to him just like that. Was she really not worried at all? Shisheng looked at her lovingly. As long as you're happy. If you want to deal with me, you need to have the strength to do so. Ling Yu. There was no way to communicate. The carriage soon arrived at MT1 Yuan. Ling Yu wanted to climb up the sky steps. Shisheng had no choice but to accompany him. Before they were even halfway up, Shisheng was already panting from exhaustion. Ling Yu stood at the top of a few steps, his face completely unruffled as he stared coldly at the woman who was sitting on the ground without a care for her image. His heart was crumbling. She didn't seem this tired even when she was fighting. It was just climbing a ladder. Did she have to be this tired? Fighting really wasn't tiring for Shisheng. After all, he had an iron sword that could cut through people like a carrot. Unless it was a battle of attrition, he didn't expend much energy. But this ladder was practically at a 90-degree angle. What did 90-degree angle mean? If she wasn't careful, she'd fall down. As a civil official, she was already doing her best to climb halfway up. Just as Shisheng was panting for breath, a shadow suddenly appeared in front of her. A fair, slender hand reached out to her. Shisheng looked in the direction of the hand. Ling Yu's gaze wandered as he stubbornly explained, "If you keep walking like this, we won't be able to climb the mountain until dark. Why don't you carry me then?" Shisheng took advantage of his situation. Ling Yu was about to pull his hand back with a dark expression, but Shisheng immediately reached out and grabbed him. Not carrying. It's fine holding hands." Ling Yu harumphed. Shisheng's face darkened. Fine, he's showing his tsundere side. Very well. Borrowing Ling Yu's strength, Shisheng stood up. Ling Yu walked in front of her, holding her hand as they climbed up the mountain. Shisheng took the opportunity to slip her hand through his and interlock their fingers. Ling Yu glanced back at her and tightened his grip. In the end, he continued walking with a cold expression. When they reached the monastery, Ling Yu tried to pull his hand back, but it was to no avail. "Prime Minister, let go. Don't you know that men and women shouldn't touch each other? I'm afraid you'll fall. It's better if I hold your hand," Shisheng said sternly. Ling Yu. This was his territory. How could he possibly fall? Ling Yu tried several times, but he couldn't pull his hand back. Shisheng looked at him with a smile. Ling Yu's heart began to beat wildly. He hurriedly averted his gaze and strode toward the loft at the top of the cliff. He warned himself not to think about it, but the sensation in his hand made it hard for him to not think about it. Her hand was very small, and her skin was delicate. It was completely different from the rough and broad skin of other women. This hand had once held his most private place. Thinking of this, Ling Yu subconsciously tightened his grip. Little Taoist. Even if you don't want to hold my hand, you don't have to cripple my hand, do you? Shisheng sucked in a cold breath. Ling Yu snapped out of his daze and realized that he had used so much strength. He immediately let go. Shisheng's hand was already red. I'm sorry. He hadn't done it on purpose. His heart was in a mess, and he didn't know how to face her. Shisheng shook his hand. Why was this child's hand so strong? Motherf ***, my hand was going to break. Help me blow on it. Shisheng raised her hand in front of Ling Yu and blinked. Her face was full of grievance, and she was just short of crying. Ling Yu looked at the red mark he had left on her hand. After a moment of silence, he held her hand and gently blew on it. His warm breath hit her hand, and it was like a feather brushing against her heart. It made her feel numb and ticklish, making her want to pounce on him. In the end, her rationality prevailed over her impulse. However, she continued to shamelessly ask for more benefits. It won't hurt if you kiss me. Ling Yu looked at her. Shisheng did her best to make her expression look more aggrieved. Her long, curly eyelashes fluttered like butterfly wings. Her usually calm eyes seemed to be tinged with a smile and warmth, drawing him in. He didn't know why, but he planted a kiss on her hand. His lips were a little cold, and when they landed on her skin that was burning from the pain, the coolness was just enough to dispel the burning sensation. Ling Yu. Ling Yu's face was slightly red. He raised his head to look at her, and his eyes widened. Ling Yu didn't expect her to suddenly pounce on him, so he was pushed into the grass behind him. Ling Yu. Shisheng's gaze was somewhat serious. At first, Ling Yu's body was very stiff. However, when she called his name, he didn't know why, but he felt very uncomfortable. It was so uncomfortable that he almost couldn't breathe. It's 5 chapters every day. I don't cut any corners. Little fairy, I'm so sad. It's better if I buy tickets. Chapter 322. By the time Shisheng let go of Lingyu, his face was flushed red, making him look extremely adorable. Shisheng lay on top of him and smiled at him. It's all your fault for being too tempting. I couldn't control myself. Lingyu's face turned even redder as he frantically pushed her away. Ha 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 ha. Shisheng sat on the ground and laughed. Lingyu glared at her. He didn't care whether she followed or not, and quickly walked up the mountain. He actually didn't push her away earlier, and even cooperated with her. Lingyu really wanted to slap himself. What kind of demon had he been possessed by? Lingyu reached out and touched his lips. Her scent and warmth still lingered on them. Don't think about it, don't think about it. Lingyu wanted to wipe his lips with his sleeve, but the moment his sleeve touched his lips, he put it down. He quickly returned to the loft and headed for the third floor. There was a study on the third floor, surrounded by bookshelves. Probably because no one had lived here for a long time, the interior was covered in a layer of dust. Lingyu headed straight for one of the bookshelves. He took down a box from one of the bookshelves and hurriedly opened it. Inside lay a brocade pouch. He took out the brocade pouch and hesitated for a long time before slowly opening it. There was only a single slip of paper in the brocade pouch. Follow your heart. Respect your will. These words were written in a flamboyant style on the paper. Follow your heart. Respect your will. Did Master mean for him to respect his own heart and follow his heart? But Lingyu tightened his grip on the paper and looked out the window, just in time to see Shisheng land below. She raised her head slightly and met his gaze. Her lips curved into a smile as she stood there with no intention of coming up. Lingyu stared at her for a while, then turned around to find a brazier and burned the brocade pouch along with the paper. He closed the window and sat on the ground as he watched the flames flicker before finally extinguishing. Sparks of light flickered on and off. Lingyu sat there for 2 days. He thought about many things, but he decided to do as Master said. Follow your heart. Respect your will. It was just that, she didn't want to disappoint him. Lingyu took a few things from the bookshelves and carried them to the stairs. Finally, he glanced back at the study, then went downstairs. When he pushed open the door and saw the person standing outside, he wasn't surprised at all. It was as if he knew that she would be waiting for him here. No matter how long he stayed inside, she would be there. This was a very strange intuition, one that made him feel at ease. Shisheng watched as Lingyu came out carrying some things. Most of them were books, and there was even a bundle hanging from his body. She immediately went forward to take the things and asked him with a faint smile, "Have you thought it through?" Lingyu didn't answer. Instead he asked, "Will you have other servants?" "No, I'll only have you forever and ever. Women always say nice things." Lingyu snorted, but his ears were slightly red. 4 generations to come. How did she know that there would be reincarnations? When a person dies, it's like an extinguished lamp. There's nothing left. Shisheng tilted his head and smiled. "I'll show you. You'll understand one day. It wasn't fate that we met. I was the one who was looking for you. Trichiliocosm, no matter where you are, I will find you and stay with you." Lingyu frowned slightly, not understanding what she meant. Shisheng did not explain. "Is there anything else you want to bring?" Lingyu turned around and returned to the attic. Moments later he carried out a large chest. Shisheng was speechless. What the hell was this? Shisheng wanted to open the chest to take a look, but Lingyu pressed down on it, not letting him. "You won't let me see?" Lingyu nodded. "Kiss me, and I won't look." Shisheng inched closer to Lingyu. He was constantly trying to get benefits for himself. Lingyu looked at the chest, then at Shisheng. There was a struggle in his eyes, as if he was making a choice. In the end he actually let go of the chest. Let go of the chest. Shisheng was speechless. It's not like you'll die from a kiss, but he actually won't do it. This BBB is so angry. Shisheng put the chest into his storage space with a dark expression, as well as everything else. "Where did you put the things?" Lingyu finally asked out of curiosity. Her iron sword would always appear out of nowhere. He'd been curious about it for a long time. I won't tell you even if you kiss me, Shisheng snorted. I am a person of principle. I need to kiss you twice. Ling Yu was speechless. Evidently, Ling Yu wasn't that curious about that item. Since Shisheng didn't answer, he didn't ask. Shisheng was speechless. Why aren't you asking anymore? Ask away. Hashtag what do I do if my wife's curiosity is bad? It's quite urgent. Waiting online. Hashtag Ling Yu used his qinggong to fly over the cliff, but when he turned around, he found that Shisheng was still standing there. I can't go over. Shisheng felt like his ability to lie through his teeth had reached a godly level. He was really going all out to get his wife. Ling Yu's lips twitched. Then how did you get over the last few times? Gu Su had told him that her sword could become bigger and fly. Ling Yu turned around and went down the mountain, deciding to ignore Shisheng. Ling Yu, don't go. Little Taoist. Wife. What the hell was wife? Ling Yu walked even faster, disappearing from Shisheng's sight in just a few steps. Ling Yu tidied up the monastery, locking up all the places that needed to be locked. However, he still didn't see Shisheng coming down. He waited and waited. The sky was already dark, but he still didn't see anyone. In the end, Ling Yu gritted his teeth and went up the mountain. He saw Shisheng sitting on the stone railing in a daze. When Shisheng saw him, Shisheng immediately jumped down. Wife, hurry up and bring me over. Ling Yu. Just how stubborn was she? If he didn't come up, was she going to stay here forever? Ling Yu jumped over. You could have come over yourself. Why did you have to make me? Who told you I could go over myself? Shisheng said righteously. Nonsense. Then how did you get over? Ling Yu's lips twitched. Shisheng refused to admit it, and pointed at some vines on the cliff. I climbed over there. I almost fell. If I fell, you wouldn't be able to see me. What if you got bullied by others? That's why I can't die blah blah blah. Ling Yu took a deep breath and decided to stop listening to her nonsense. He reached out his hand. Shisheng immediately grabbed his hand and hugged his waist, kissing him on the cheek. Ling Yu. This woman. This was Shisheng's first time being carried by someone using qinggong. It was a novel experience. Moreover, whenever Ling Yu used qinggong, she could feel a faint spiritual energy surrounding him. There was clearly no spiritual energy in this world, so why was there spiritual energy in Ling Yu's body? Also, she didn't need to send her spiritual energy into his body to feel a sense of familiarity. Because it was too late, the two of them couldn't leave the mountain, so they spent the night in the monastery below. Shisheng tried to get into the same room, but Ling Yu mercilessly rejected her. Unexpectedly, it started raining heavily in the middle of the night, drenching Shisheng completely. The roof had probably been in disrepair for a long time, so when it rained heavily outside, it started to drizzle inside. Shisheng got up with a dark expression. Carrying a slightly wet blanket, he went to knock on Ling Yu's door. Ling Yu's room wasn't much better. Half of the bed was leaking rain. Thank you to the cherub who tipped me. Please vote. T-Tiff I don't vote, I'll show you. T to the power of T. Chapter 323. Ling Yu went to check on the other rooms. Most of them were leaking. His master had always been in charge of repairing the roof. After his master left, Ling Yu had been living in the loft, so he had no idea that the normally nice Taoist temple would become like this on a rainy day. It wasn't safe to go up the mountain in such a heavy rain. Only junior brother's room isn't leaking. You can sleep in his room. Ling Yu avoided the leaking rain and walked to the bed. Shisheng was sitting on the bed, hugging her blanket. Her hair and body were wet from the rain when she came over from the courtyard, so they were now sticking to her body. Where are you sleeping? I'll sleep here. Ling Yu pointed at the bed Shisheng was sitting on. He could make do for one night. Then I'll sleep here too. Ling Yu was speechless. Only one person could sleep on this bed. The other side was leaking rain. Then I'll sleep in junior brother's room. If she didn't want to leave, then he would. I'll go too. Shisheng hugged her blanket and prepared to get off the bed. Prime Minister, men and women shouldn't touch each other, Ling Yu reminded her. Shisheng tilted her head. An innocent expression on her face. I'm not trying to do anything to you. I'm just sharing a bed. Once you enter the residence, we'll still have to sleep together. This can be considered a rehearsal. There was a rehearsal for sleeping? Ling Yu felt like there was no way he could communicate with this woman. Just as they were in a deadlock, rain began to leak from where Shisheng was sitting. Shisheng shrugged and smiled. You can't blame me for this. The two of them finally moved the blanket to Gu Su's room. Ling Yu said that Gu Su's room wasn't leaking rain, but he was referring to the fact that there wasn't any rain near his bed. There was some hay on the bed, so rainwater dripped down the hay to the side. Shisheng gave Ling Yu a strange look. Ling Yu felt a bit awkward. He rarely came here, so Gu Su was usually alone. He didn't know about this at all. Gu Su's bed was very small, so there was only a small gap between the two of them. Shisheng let Ling Yu sleep inside. Ling Yu was very nervous as he climbed onto the bed. The pitter-patter of the rain seemed to be dripping from the bottom of his heart, and his heartbeat was almost synchronized with it. Shisheng climbed onto the bed and saw Ling Yu leaning against it. He frowned. Come here. I don't take up much space. Ling Yu shook his head, a hint of wariness in his eyes. Shisheng was speechless. Did she look that desperate? It really was. All right, there was nothing to be ashamed of about wanting to sleep with her own man. She just wanted to sleep with him. Let me dry your hair. Shisheng waved a towel that he had taken out of nowhere. Ling Yu's hair was even wetter than hers when he went outside to check on the room earlier. Ling Yu's face reddened. What was I thinking? She propped herself up and sat over. Half kneeling on the ground, Shisheng untied his hair and gently dried his hair. He could feel her body temperature, as well as her fingertips that faintly brushed against his neck. There was a slight chill, like a numbing electric current that instantly spread throughout his body. It's done. Shisheng touched his hair. Although it wasn't very dry, it was much better than before. Shisheng casually dried her hair. Her jacket was wet, so she prepared to take it off. What are you doing? Ling Yu had shrunk back inside at some point. My clothes are wet, so I'm taking them off. She quickly took off her jacket. The clothes inside were still dry. Your jacket is wet too. You'll get sick if you wear it. Take it off. Ling Yu stared at Shisheng for a while before slowly taking off his jacket. Sleep. The two of them covered themselves. When Ling Yu saw that Shisheng had shrunk into her own blanket, his anxious heart finally relaxed. The temperature on the mountain was low at night to begin with. Now that it was raining, it was even colder. Shisheng covered herself with an especially thin blanket. She felt cold all over. The original owner of this body was a good-for-nothing who could get a high fever after being drenched in the rain. Shisheng couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard she tried. She didn't seem to have any blankets in her space. It seemed like she would have to store some in her space in the future. Ah. Shisheng covered her mouth. Her nose itched, and she couldn't help but sneeze. F***ck. Shisheng turned to look inside. Her eyes flashed and she moved over. Unexpectedly, Ling Yu sat up. In the darkness, all Shisheng could see was a black shadow. It's cold. Shisheng looked pitifully at the black shadow. Ah. Ling Yu had internal energy to protect his body, so he didn't feel too cold. It's really cold. Feel it if you don't believe me. Shisheng stretched her hand out. It took a while for the person opposite her to grab her hand. Compared to her warm hand from before, her hand felt like it had just been taken out of an ice cellar. It was bone-chillingly cold. Ling Yu felt that strange dull pain in his heart again. He gripped Shisheng's hand tightly and hesitated for a while before lifting his own blanket. He said in a low voice, "You're not allowed to touch me." Okay. Shisheng's voice was a little nasal as she quickly moved under Ling Yu's blanket. Warmth immediately spread through her body. Shisheng smacked her lips in comfort. Ling Yu went to get Shisheng's blanket. The place she had been lying on was cold, and the blanket was a little wet. Why didn't she say so earlier? Ling Yu gave up on using the blanket and carefully lay down. Lying under the same blanket as Shisheng, Ling Yu's already tense nerves became even more tense. Shisheng placed her cold hand on Ling Yu's body. Ling Yu stiffened and didn't move. Shisheng seemed to be taking advantage of him. Her whole body leaned on him. Prime Minister. Didn't you say you wouldn't touch me? Shisheng shrunk her neck and said pitifully, it's cold. Lingyu was speechless. You're a woman, all right? Why are you acting like a delicate man at a time like this? In the end, Shisheng hugged Lingyu and went to sleep, satisfied. Lingyu couldn't fall asleep at all. His ears were filled with the sound of the rain and her breathing. He didn't even know when he fell asleep. In his daze, he felt something licking his lips. As soon as he opened his eyes, he met Shisheng's smiling eyes. She was so close to him, so close that he could see the minute details of her face. Shisheng slowly pushed her tongue into his mouth. Seeing that he didn't object, she continued. Lingyu was instantly jolted awake and pushed Shisheng away. His hands had somehow ended up in front of her chest. The softness caused him to shrink back as if he had been electrocuted. You, didn't you say you wouldn't touch me? I didn't touch you, Shisheng said innocently. I touched your mouth. Lingyu didn't know whether it was from anger or embarrassment, but his face turned red. Liar. Women really are all liars. Okay, I was wrong. Don't be angry. Shisheng saw that Lingyu's expression was turning uglier and uglier, so she hurriedly apologized. Without your permission, I definitely won't touch you again, all right? Don't be angry. It's not good for your body to be angry in the morning. Lingyu got off the bed without a word, grabbed his jacket, and headed outside. Shisheng was speechless. It's just a kiss. Wife, don't be angry. At most, I'll let you kiss me back. Shisheng eagerly followed after Lingyu, then shamelessly surrounded Lingyu and apologized. Shisheng. Kiss me back, wife. Lingyu, shameless. Shisheng. If you're shameless, you won't have a wife. Chapter 324. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was blue, the clouds were white, and the sun was warm. Ingyu, who had been waiting below, was about to grow hair. She had decided that if Sir didn't come down today, she would go up. But just as she made her decision, she saw her master and Lingyu coming down one after the other. Shisheng helped Lingyu into the carriage, his careful attitude causing Ingyu's eyes to almost pop out of their sockets. Your Excellency, what were you and Sir Lingyu doing on the mountain? In Ingyu's mind, Shisheng and Lingyu had already slept together that night, so she didn't think there was anything wrong with Shisheng and Lingyu spending a day or two alone on the mountain. It was hard to understand Darren's thoughts. Ingyu shook off her thoughts and drove the carriage back to the mansion. Duan Qingyan waited outside the Prime Minister's residence for an entire day, but he didn't see anyone. He couldn't help but feel a little down. Just as he was about to leave, the crisp sound of horse hooves rang out. He raised his head and saw a carriage with a lantern hanging from the Prime Minister's residence stopped at the gate. When he saw Shisheng coming down from the carriage, his face lit up. Just as he was about to go over, he saw her carefully helping a man down from the carriage. The man was wearing an ordinary green Taoist robe, but even so, it couldn't hide his enviable face. So the rumors were true. She really took a fancy to a Taoist priest. She even treated him so well. Duan Qingyan unconsciously clenched his fists as he stared at their backs. As soon as the Shisheng entered the estate, Gusu appeared out of nowhere and pounced straight into Lingyu's arms. Shisheng was talking to Ingyue, so he didn't stop him in time, and he really jumped in. Dayu hurriedly ran over from the corridor, and saw Gusu hugging Lingyu's waist, while her prime minister was glaring at Gusu with a dark expression. Dayu's heart thumped. She stepped forward and pried Gusu away. My lord, it was this subordinate who didn't see Sir Gusu. Please don't blame him. Let me go, I want senior brother. Gusu struggled with all his might. Dayu wanted nothing more than to cover Gusu's mouth. Little ancestor, you still dare to cause trouble in front of the Lord? Look at the Lord's expression. He looks like he's going to chop someone up. Under Shisheng's murderous gaze, Lingyu approached Gusu and patted his head. Gusu immediately stopped making a fuss. Lady Dayu, please let go of my junior brother. Dayu looked at Shisheng awkwardly, not knowing whether she should release him or not. However, Shisheng didn't give Dayu any instructions. He flung his sleeves and strode away. Sir, what do you mean by this? Are you going to release him or not? Ingyu shook her head at Dayu. indicating that she didn't know what the prime minister meant. In the end, Daiwe released Gusu. This was the junior brother of her future monarch. It was better for her not to offend him. Senior brother, senior brother. Gusu shook Ling Yu's hand. Ling Yu retracted his gaze and patted Gusu's head out of habit. Like a kitten, Gusu clung to Ling Yu and refused to let go. After dinner, Ling Yu still didn't see Shisheng. After coaxing Gusu to sleep, Ling Yu slowly made his way to his room. Just now, the Empress invited Milord to the palace. I don't know why she hasn't returned yet. Sir, you're not afraid of the Empress. What are you worried about? You're right. Ah, Sir Ling Yu. The two youths hurriedly bowed in greeting. Ling Yu nodded slightly and walked past them. He could vaguely hear their whispers. Sir Ling Yu is truly fortunate to be favored by Milord. This is the first time our Milord has doted on a young master like this. Even that Sir Duan didn't receive such treatment. Of course. Did you see what Lady Daiyu had people prepare yesterday? Even the palace's stuff can't compare. Ling Yu's steps slowed. Sir Duan? What Sir Duan? The Empress had invited Shisheng into the palace because of the Crown Princess' disappearance. At first, even the Empress thought that the Crown Princess had snuck out of the palace. However, whenever the Crown Princess snuck out of the palace, she would always bring someone with her. This time, she didn't bring anyone with her. That was why the Empress became nervous. After investigating, she found out that the Crown Princess was last seen in the palace Ling Yu used to live in. Shisheng just so happened to be there at the time. Such a coincidence made the Empress suspicious. Thus, she summoned Shisheng for an audience. Beloved subject, you really haven't seen the Crown Princess? The Empress' gaze seemed to want to bore a hole through Shisheng. Shisheng casually stood below. Your Majesty, you can suspect that I did something to the Crown Princess, but you have to show evidence. Imperial sister went missing on the path to Jingyang Palace. You were the only one there at the time. Jiangji, who was standing next to the Empress, spoke up. Right now, she was looking at Shisheng with eyes full of wariness. Did she really transmigrate too? I can't just disappear from such a big, living person, can I? When I left the palace, I didn't bring anything with me. At the time, she stuffed the Crown Princess into her space and swaggered out of the main entrance. There were dozens and dozens of witnesses. The Empress was speechless. Everyone on duty that day had been arrested and interrogated, but everyone's confessions were the same. The Prime Minister had gone in alone and left alone. There was nothing strange about it. Could it really not be her? Then where did the Crown Princess go? Shisheng had someone bring him a stool. After sitting down, he leisurely said, Even if I killed the Crown Princess, what can you do to me, Your Majesty? Slap. The Empress slammed her hand on the table. Jun Liu. I'm just joking. There's no need to be so agitated, Your Majesty. Shisheng crossed his arms in front of his chest. His posture was relaxed, a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere in front of him. The Empress pointed at Shisheng, speechless for a long time. This Jun Liu was audacious and condescending. How infuriating. Shisheng insisted that he hadn't seen the Crown Princess. When she went, Ling Yu was the only one in the palace. The people on duty at the palace also testified that Shisheng only went in after the Crown Princess left. Neither the Empress nor Jiangji had any concrete evidence. Now that she was under the Jun family's control, what could she do? In the end, she could only grit her teeth and let Shisheng go. Do you think she has anything to do with the Crown Princess' disappearance? The Empress looked at Jiangji, her eyes indescribably sinister. Jiangji felt her scalp go numb. She conservatively replied, I don't know. As the Crown Princess mother, the Empress wasn't worried about her daughter's safety. She was only worried about the consequences of this incident, the losses it would bring her, and the benefits it would bring her. In the Empress's heart, there was probably nothing more important than her throne. She'd actually thought she could talk about kinship with the Empress. She was too naive. This world wasn't the one she lived in at all. Moreover, this was the Empress who held such a high position. The Empress sneered, her voice powerful. Even if it isn't, it still has to be. Jiangji lowered her head, hiding the fear in her eyes. By the time she left the palace, her back was already soaked in cold sweat. Please vote T please. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.